This video is the first day of my 13-day protocol for free. What my 13-day protocol is it takes you through a 13-day protocol where I have a workbook where every day you do the exercises on these sheets and you watch essentially a video like this once a day, and I'm slowly rewiring your subconscious mind, which controls the whole entire body. In order for you to get better, I'm literally, a lot of you people say like, oh, you're holding back, you never tell me the cure. Open up your ears and open up your eyes and look at this slide right here. This is the therapy. This video right here is the cure. It is the therapy, or at least it's part of it. If you suck at World of Warcraft, what is the cure for getting better at World of Warcraft? It is to watch videos on how to get good at it. How to heal your gut. You need to get good at how to navigate your subconscious mind. And the only way I can do that is if I educate you on how it works. And what makes that very difficult is everything we've been taught is pretty much wrong. So the pictures and the words in this video presentation I put together for you are to help you get down deep into your subconscious mind, where we can find that traumatic subconscious memory and alter it so it stops putting your gut in and out of overdrive. This is everything that I wish somebody would have told me. This is better than doing a one-on-one coaching call with me. All the people who these testimonials I'm about to show you, they would not have been able to get these results if they did not know the information inside this is the free day 0 of my 13-day protocol. So this person suffered from horrible diarrhea, gas, and weight loss. They were diagnosed with colitis and histamine intolerance. He tried all sorts of things. He did not get better until he did my 13-day protocol, until he fixed the thing that controls his whole entire body, which is your subconscious mind. This person suffered from horrible constipation and bloating. They would only go to the bathroom maybe once or twice a week. Now he eats whatever he wants. This person worked on an organic farm for a very long time and ate nothing but organic foods. Did not help until he fixed the one thing that runs his whole entire body, which is your subconscious mind. This person had horrible gut pain and cramps. They were diagnosed with Crohn's and arthritis and used my 13-day protocol, and he got better. Guys, I barely talked to these people. They just used the program and they got better. They did not need one-on-one coaching from me. This person had stomach ulcers, heartburn, acid reflux, and H. pylori. It is all gone. This person had horrible anxiety and depression. Why? Because the doctors were constantly pressuring him. He was diagnosed with colitis to cut out his colon and have to wear a bag of poop for the rest of his life. A lot of the times they're very misleading with how they sell these surgeries to you. They're like, oh yeah, all your problems will be fixed. Here, sign this status. Oh, wait a second, I can't read the fine print. Don't worry about it. When you read the fine print, these bag surgeries, these where they make it, or a J-pouch where they literally Frankenstein a new colon for you. I literally can't tell you how gross this surgery is. It literally makes me want to vomit. But even when these surgeries are successful, you're still running to the bathroom 10 times a day. I would not call that success. But he enrolled in my 13-day protocol and now he's fine. This was somebody who had lots of food intolerances. I think their diagnosis was Crohn's. He was on the carnivore diet for a very long time, but he also had to go to a lot of business meetings. And he actually lost a lot of business just because when he would go do these business dinners, he just looked weird because he had all these weird foods in front of him. And anytime he went off the diet, he would get extremely sick. After, I think, just 3 days on the protocol, he was able to eat gluten and dairy and have no problems whatsoever. This was somebody who said this summer they went traveling all over Europe. They were carefree and they ate whatever they want with their girlfriend. No stress. He was not able to do this before doing my 13-day protocol. Guys, I know sharing these testimonials might be like a little annoying, but if you don't believe what I'm telling you works, everything that I tell you in this presentation is just going to go in and out the other ear. Most of you guys will just because someone is wearing like a white coat or they got some label in front of their name, you just believe everything that they say. And that's part of our territorial tribal nature. We trust people who are above us in our pecking order, but it's very misleading. You have to only listen to people who have the results that you want. If you want to listen to the holistic nutbags who can only eat meat, if they're lucky, they can put salt on it. They can't put butter on their steak. That's the level of success you're going to have because that's what they know how to do. That's what they're teaching you to do. But if you want to be somebody who can eat whatever they want, not have to walk this holistic tightrope, and then every time they fall off this holistic tightrope, which you will fall off of because it's so boring and strict, you're going to have symptoms, then go listen to them. They are experts at being holistic nutbags. There are times where we need modern medicine and holistic medicine, but if you don't understand that your subconscious mind controls your whole body and the focus needs to be there, you are just going to chase your tail. These are people who got real results. They had spent decades doing modern and holistic medicine things, and then literally within weeks, within days, within months, they were eating whatever they wanted. Their diarrhea stopped. While eating whatever they wanted, they are not on strict diets. They are eating gluten. They are eating ice cream. They are eating gelato. They are eating croissants. This guy right here, he had 2 flares that were so bad it put him in the hospital, and his legs became so skinny that he could put his fingers like this around his legs. And he said his last birthday, he was able to drink a whole bottle of whiskey, and he woke up the next morning and had a perfectly formed poop. Those are the types of results you will get. This video is the foundation for how to do this. This is somebody else who was walking a holistic tightrope. They had horrible eczema. They were so self-conscious about their eczema that they couldn't even go out on a date with their husband. They were doing something called German New Medicine, which I'm going to explain a lot more about in this video, but it's German. The Germans love to overcomplicate things. I have a Mercedes. I've had it for over a year. I still can't find how to deploy the cup holders or unlock the door. It's just confusing. They just love to over-engineer things. That's what happens with German New Medicine. It's so confusing and so overcomplicated that for the average person, they just don't know what to do. But the 13-day protocol presented it to her in a way that was easy to understand. And like literally the next day, like her rash started clearing up. You know, knowing this information is going to help you excel in your career or in your school or in whatever sport that you're playing. This person had horrible UC flares, going to the bathroom 20 times a day. You cannot be good at your career if you're dealing with these gut health issues. And imagine being able to spend money on things that actually bring you pleasure. This person was about to spend 3,000 euro. I spent at least 100, 200K on holistic nutbag stuff. I could have bought a house with all the money I've spent on remedies that just didn't work and didn't even get close to the root cause of the problem. All right, so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go over a bunch of gut health conditions and a few autoimmune conditions. We're going to go over what it is, how they get diagnosed, and a basic treatment plan for these things. Acne, eczema, psoriasis, H. pylori, C. diff, E. coli. These are just some of the conditions we're going to go over. And if you're not sure what gut condition you have, that's fine. Because I had a Crohn's disease diagnosis, but most of my symptoms were coming from my gallbladder. So even if you're like 100% sure you know what your diagnosis is, I highly suggest you watch this whole video because this video is the therapy. It is the cure. I know what your brain needs to hear in order to get better. I just don't know how many times it needs to hear it and from which angle. So the more you listen to this video, the more I can get deeper and deeper into your subconscious, and we can wiggle away that subconscious traumatic memory that's causing all your symptoms. In order for you to get better, there's one belief that I need you to believe. If you don't have a strong foundation, your house is going to fall over one day. You need to believe that your gut issues are caused by a subconscious trauma, or it started from a traumatic event, or at least that it's stress-based. But more specifically, it started after a very specific traumatic event. Some of you might say, oh yeah, I know it's caused by trauma. But if you're on TikTok or Instagram flipping through shorts and somebody makes a video, the 3 best herbs to heal your gut, and you go, oh wow, I need to listen to this. I know that belief isn't strong enough yet. Why do all your friends and family, they don't take any supplements, they take antibiotics on a yearly basis, they don't even know what a probiotic is, and they are a million times healthier than you? I'm going to show you science and logic. You only have 8 hours a day at most to invest your focus and energy, your thoughts into something. You are literally one thought away from getting better. We need to have a thought access this memory. But if every time you see a shiny object, oh, some supplement, oh, some boring diet that's going to help me, and for weeks you don't focus on the trauma because you're focusing on some silly diet, you will literally never, ever get better. And I want you to get better. This is one thing I'm trying to really nail home in your head. It is cause. The cause is a traumatic event, and the cure is altering that event, going down with your conscious mind into the subconscious mind and altering that subconscious memory and its PTSD triggers. That is the cure. And what's very frustrating is it's not made clear in the German New Medicine text. I was always super skinny growing up. When I was at the height of my holistic nuttery, I could barely get to 160 pounds. I think here I was on testosterone therapy. I was doing creatine. I was doing whey. I was seeing the best personal trainer in my city for over 2 years, and I still looked like a skeleton. This is me now, but I went up to 180 pounds. It was like my dream to be 175 pounds. Now I couldn't imagine being under 180, 190. So this is my lab reports to show that I really had these conditions. I had inflammation in my stomach. My gallbladder was messed up. I had inflammation in the last part of my small intestine, in the ileum, where in the first part of the large intestine, the ascending colon, I didn't have any inflammation in the transverse colon, surprisingly, but in the descending and in the sigmoid and the rectum area, I had all sorts of inflammation. I had polyps, and then best of yet, I had a perianal fistula that oozed pus and blood every day. I would go to change my pants at night, and it looked like roadkill in my pants. Very attractive. I had horrible acne. Now that's gone, and I eat whatever I want. No drugs, no diets. I take a few supplements, and I did this all within 2 to 3 months, and this is after decades of having symptoms and trying everything under the sun. You are literally one realization away. You might not even be conscious of this realization. It might be a subconscious realization. We really give the conscious mind too much credit. The conscious mind is a product of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind does everything, but you might have this realization while watching this video. And guys, just to really put it home, this really works. I don't know most of these people's stories, or I know just very few of their details, but they did watch. All these people enrolled in my 13-day protocol. They watched day 0, exactly what you're watching. They probably watched a much worse version of what you're watching now, and they got better after years of modern medicine, boring diets, and just weird, spending thousands on herbs and supplements, they didn't need to take. All right, my hand's getting tired. Like I said, I had tried just about every single diet you can think of. I worked on tons of farms. I worked on an organic raw dairy farm. This isn't even 10% of the books that I've read. I did colonics. I did enemas, coffee enemas, yoga, hot yoga. I did cold therapy, Wim Hof, acupuncture, red light therapy, hyperbolic oxygen chambers. All this did basically nothing. Now, this is Dr. Hammer right here. And what he discovered in the 80s, he could essentially look at your brain CT scan and know exactly what gut issues you had. So here's like my clay little models of his charts of the brain. This is from Dr. Hammer's book, The Scientific Chart, right here. But we're looking at a slide of the brainstem, and I am not holding this correctly, but it's like there. But if somebody had Crohn's or inflammation in their small intestine, they would have impacts in their brain right here. And if somebody had inflammation in their colon, they would have impacts in their brain right here. Sorry, this is like flipped. If somebody had something going on in their kidneys, he mapped out the whole entire body. All right, if we look at like this slide on a CT scan, there would be activity here if somebody had bile acid malabsorption, heartburn, GERD. And if somebody had anal fissures or hemorrhoids, there would always be activity here. If somebody was depressed, they would have a lot of activity on this side of the brain. low testosterone, they'd have a lot of activity on this side of the brain. If somebody was manic, they would have a lot of activity on this side of the brain. If somebody was bipolar, we would see it go back and forth. So he literally mapped out everything in the brain. And when I got my brain CT scan done, sure enough, right where these impacts were supposed to be, they were there. All right, so let's start to go over the digestive tract. First, to start off with stomach ulcers, acid reflux, and gastritis. The way that this gets diagnosed is, so they put a camera, boom, right down here, and they look around. Do they see ulcers right here? And a lot of the times you can almost self-diagnose yourself because you can feel the burning or you can feel the acid reflux floating up. So when somebody was conflict active on this relay, the ring would look more like this. And then when the conflict gets resolved, so it's cell loss in the conflict active phase. And what's really interesting is all the acid's hanging down here because of gravity. And even modern medicine knows this. This is from a book in the 1930s. They're always up here on the lesser curvature, or they're always in the duodenum, the duodenum, or in the pylorus around here. You think they would be down here because the acid's like sitting down there with burn holes there. But no, they're always up here. You know, during the conflict active phase, he would look at your brain CT scan and the ring would look more like this when it was conflict active. And then when the conflict got resolved, both the cells, there's cell restoration happening here and in the brain. Like think about it like a computer, like it was, you were playing World of Warcraft on full graphics, like it had to process more information. You experienced a traumatic event. It had to process more information, not only like logically and psychologically to try to fix the problem, but also on the organ. So this was going into overdrive, this was in overdrive, and now we need to recover. We need to rebuild and repair this machine part that's been running fast for weeks, if not months. And the conflict for this, for males, it's a territorial anger, and I really hate that term. That's how it's described in the books. Dr. Hammer had a habit of not explaining things, and I'm not the only one that feels that way. But the way I like to describe it is you always want to think about biologically, what are these organs doing for survival? What is this doing for survival? And this has a very tribal, group-oriented feel to it. So think hierarchy, think rank, think status. A lot of animals, the lower rank animals, they have to eat last just because they're lower rank than everybody. This conflict shock that you had a territory, you were in a group, but maybe you were demoted unfairly or maybe even fairly, but either way you were demoted, and that is a traumatic event. To be demoted, to lose rank, it's actually horrible for survival, especially like in a wolf pack. For a female, it can be territorial anger, or it could be an identity conflict where you're part of a tribe, but you don't know what your rank is. You're worried about your rank, where a man is trying to gain rank. The more that's the masculine way to look at it. But the more feminine way is you're kind of worried and more passive about, oh, do I belong here? Or because traditionally the way that a woman in bird and monkey societies and wolf societies is that they select a mate and they rise to the rank of their mate. That's what Dr. Hammer encouraged us to do, is to look towards nature to the functions of these organs. The body, the organ, and the psyche are all so closely connected. They are really one. We're one big survival machine, and being a part of the group and rising in rank in that group is a huge part of survival. So during the conflict active phase, there is cell loss. The purpose of this is to allow more food to be digested so you can fight this rank battle better. Then when the conflict gets resolved, there's cell restoration, there's vomiting. It changes from a burning pain to a pressure pain. It might get diagnosed as gastritis. And there's also going to be a fever and a headache because there's water rushing into the brain and creating pressure to heal that brain tissue that spent so much time processing this conflict. I saw somebody deal with this when they found a nice apartment, but the landlord lived next door and just created all sorts of problems for them. And then it wasn't until the lease was up and they had moved away and their landlord wasn't up their butt 24/7 where the stomach ulcers went away. So this is Dr. Burrell Crohn right here, and he wrote a book about stomach ulcers called Know Your Ulcer, and this is literally the first sentence of his book. A peptic ulcer is commonly a disease of a lifetime. It is a disease of a tense, nervous person who lives a strenuous and worrisome life. So even back then, they knew that these gut issues were caused by stress. Don't get too misled by that, because in particular, it's caused by a specific traumatic event, and the stress from that traumatic event is what's putting your small curvature of your stomach in and out of overdrive. Not all stress, just the stress from that traumatic event. So gastroparesis is when your stomach muscles stop moving, and that is a misleading description. Your whole gut is lined with muscles, and these muscles are designed to move food that needs to be digested or absorbed. And when we're talking about the stomach, it needs to be digested. So if the muscles only move things forward when the food is done being digested, like let's say there's food in your stomach and it's not done digesting, what are the two things you can do? You could either vomit it back up, which is a bad idea in Mother Nature, in the wild. You just spent 10,000 calories killing this gazelle and risking your life. You need this so you have energy to go kill the next one and feed your family and all that stuff. It would not be a good idea to vomit it back up. It's not done digesting. The next best thing we could do is to leave the food in the stomach longer so it can digest better. I can't stomach this. These are all things that we say. You make me sick to my stomach. You make me want to vomit. I can't digest this. I need more time to digest this. What's actually happening is the muscles are moving in such a way to keep this figurative thing in your stomach longer so that you can digest, because you need more time to digest it. All the other muscles in your body work just fine. Why is it that this muscle's not working? Oh, it's a nutritional deficiency. I don't have enough magnesium. That's why my stomach muscles aren't working. If you were magnesium deficient and magnesium deficiency caused muscles to stop work, why does literally every single muscle in your body work except for your stomach muscles? And they are working. Your stomach muscles are all actually expanding, and then this muscle and this muscle are clamped tight, are shut tight to keep the food in your stomach. You can take certain medications to trigger, to force. If you take like a lot of magnesium, it forces the muscles to relax and to open up and for things to go out. That is a temporary solution, but the ultimate solution is to find the traumatic event that caused these. You can't consciously control these muscles. They're controlled by the subconscious mind. So there's a subconscious situation, which you might be slightly conscious of, causing your stomach muscles to behave this way. And I've helped many people deal with these stomach ulcers, GERD, and heartburn issues. You have to find the conflict. If you have stomach ulcers, you need to resolve the conflict. And a lot of the times, just identifying it will resolve 50% of the symptoms, just identifying it correctly. And when I work one-on-one with somebody, they always say, oh yeah, my symptoms started when I was in a fight with my girlfriend. Within the first 10 minutes, that's usually not the case. It's like, no, your symptoms actually started when you got in a fight with your dad, not with your girlfriend. And it turns out you've had heartburn when, you were little. So like a lot of the times when someone comes to me and they say that they found the conflict shock, they usually, I fight with my dad. Okay, that's the conflict, maybe. We need to find the conflict shock. Was it when your dad threw the screwdriver at you because you brought him the wrong screwdriver when you were fixing the car together? We need to be very specific on what was the shocking moment that put your gut into overdrive, and not just like overgeneralize, Oh, I'm stressed out. My dad just stresses me out. Oh, my girlfriend stresses me out. There's a very particular moment in time where your brain, your subconscious mind decided to put your gut into overdrive. And here's a video of somebody else that I've helped.
Immediately the next day after I started a program, I caught on real quick to the fact that the food intolerances I had that were mainly triggering these bouts of being bedridden were just all in my head. So relieved. And I went out and ate a burger, which I hadn't done for like 5 months. It tasted awesome. It tasted amazing. Ever since then, I've been eating whatever I want.
So what I hear a lot of people tell me is, what if I can't remember my traumatic events? That's okay. My traumatic event was from childhood, and I don't really remember specifically what it is, but I've done enough digging to dislodge it and stop my symptoms. And when you understand what your subconscious mind, what this little thing is really doing, it becomes a lot easier to predict its behavior and to take an educated guess, precise guess on what that traumatic event was that put our guts into overdrive. And a lot of the time, the subconscious mind is trying to hide this traumatic event from our conscious mind because the conscious mind is just too overwhelmed and it just can't take on any more work. But if you can't remember, that is okay. That is normal. And that is a problem that my 13-day protocol fixes. This trauma-based approach to healing your gut today seems very outlandish and new age, but this was not the case pre-1970s, and there's a very specific reason for that. But this is a paper from the 1940s, and the GI doctors doing the study were like, hey, we need some psychiatrists to help us analyze these people. And then the psychiatrists were laughing. They're like, you don't need our help. These people are nuts. These people have lots of issues. And what's funny is like the whole time the patients are like, oh yeah, I'm not stressed out about anything. And the second you turn your back, they're yelling at the nurse, they're yelling at the taxi driver, and which I am very guilty of. Or you talk to their family and they're like, yeah, they lost their job. They haven't found another job yet. He's very sensitive about this and that. So this was a study from the 70s, and it's from the book called The Human Colon. And these people's digestive issues were so bad, their intestines were like literally hanging out of them like this. Like they're like a little section would pop out like this. So they would do these interviews. And so the first part of the interview, they were just silent. They just sat there and they looked at him for 10 minutes. That would annoy me. And so at first his intestines were a nice pink color like this. And then as he got more and more annoyed, it turned to a red color. And then they started talking to him about his illness and about the doctor that did a bad surgery on him, and his intestines became more red. And also the intestinal muscles, this is the normal rate at which it moved. But then it turned, when he would get annoyed about something, it would turn into hyperfunction. I guess his uncle was really annoying him for whatever reason. And then the doctors were like, okay, we need to he's about to poop blood. We need to have him chill out. Hey, it's not your fault. Tell me about your favorite pet. Tell me about your favorite movie. What do you like to do in your free time? And it went back within a couple of minutes. It went back to just changing his mood. It went back to a pink color. And the conflict that started this guy's gut issues is, I think this happened in the 50s, so very strict social systems during this time. I think he was dating a girl that was below him, and his parents just weren't going to allow that to happen. And I think one night he was out with the girl, and the parents called a police officer to go track them down. And you can see when he's talking about the girl, super red, lots of contractions. I'm sure he's super emotional when he's talking about this. So right here, you can see activity in the gut, both in the muscles of the gut and of the surface mucosa of the gut, changes just based on what he's thinking about. And they did this over and over and over again with multiple people. Their therapy wasn't that great. If you ask me, they would literally have to do 100 therapy sessions to get these people's symptoms under control. I can do it a lot faster than that. This is a current study from 2019. Just stressing out rats creates colon inflammation. There's just so many studies. We'll be here forever. if I go through every single one of them, but like, just take these titles and Google them and they will show up. Most of these are from the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. This one's from 2012 saying like giving somebody antidepressants. So this is a big mistake that I see a lot of people make. They think that if they suppress their emotions, that if they deal with their emotions, that they will get better. You have to understand that emotions aren't good or bad. They're just a reaction to a conflict. So if somebody's holding a gun at me, it would be not in my best interest to not be worried. I should be worried. Should I be angry? I don't know. Maybe if I'm angry, though, he might see me more as a threat and be more compelled to pull the trigger. But if I'm fearful and submissive, maybe he won't shoot me. Or maybe I'm James Bond and I've been trained to deal with this situation and I go, "Hua!" and I point the gun back at him. Or I could have took an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety pill. It's really not solving the conflict. This is how bad our understanding of psychology and how the human brain works. Your negative emotions, they stem from a conflict. And if you do things to suppress those negative emotions, the conflict is just in the background growing. When we look at this from a German New Medicine perspective, a lot of the times the symptoms are from things that don't even produce an emotion. For example, I used to go to the bathroom every time I went into a grocery store, even when I had a smile on my face, until I realized as a kid, my mom wouldn't buy the candy and the bubble gum that I wanted at the grocery store. And just having that realization, I have not had the urge to go to the bathroom in the grocery store since having that realization. And I didn't have to cry on a therapist's couch in order to achieve that result. It was just an aha moment. This is another recent study, 2022, just stressing out a rat changed its gut microbiome. Here's another study, 2021, just stressing out a rat changed its gut microbiome. Here's another recent study saying people with gut issues tend to be more stressed out than somebody who is healthy. And there's so many studies. This is just a few that I have found. A lot of them are behind $50 paywalls. A lot of them don't show up in Google searches. When you search, you have to be very specific with your Google searches for these studies to show up. This was a really cool one where they just wanted to list out all the conflicts that they think put the person's gut into overdrive and started causing their symptoms. So this one was a Navy retirement. The first year of college was finished. A grandmother's death, a boyfriend's death, a marriage, the son got badly burned, a bad hernia operation, a hysterectomy, a death in the family, the mother's death, a son got arrested, a bad pregnancy and the husband left, a girlfriend left, a shotgun marriage, a bad ear operation, a move to a new home, grandmother's death, mother-in-law's death, divorce, they found cancer in mother, a hysterectomy, a business crisis, a pregnancy discovered, a psychotic breakdown, which is also the cause of something traumatic happening, move for a job, move to a new town, a work crisis, a cancer diagnosis in a family member, beginning a new school, an infection, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later, what caused that traumatic event, a job transfer, a job change. And one thing that I hear a lot of people say when they're first learning German New Medicine, they go, well, if stress causes disease, why I know so many people who are stressed out and they don't have disease. And I'm like, listen, hey, chill, dude. I'm trying to save your life here. You're literally getting emotional and I'm trying to spoon feed you information that's going to save your life. You're saying nothing's stressing you out and you're literally getting upset over words. And I'm guilty of that too. These doctors said, a lot of these doctors, I would argue, weren't the best at finding these people's conflict shocks. They found their conflicts, but not the conflict shocks. They said it would take some of these people months to get them to open up about the conflict shock that started their gut issues. And these people could not watch YouTube and listen to my YouTube videos to help open up their subconscious mind, to have them be more willing and have more practice in sharing this information that's locked in our subconscious. I'm not saying all stress causes disease. What I am, it's a very subtle difference in these two phrases. What I am saying is all disease starts after or around a traumatic event. And you need to know the German new medicine details of the organ in order to, if it's, right when, because sometimes symptoms will start right at the conflict shock. But for most of the people that I deal with autoimmune and gut issues, it usually starts when the conflict gets resolved. That can make things a little tricky, a little complicated. So we have many phrases that don't seem to logically make sense, but biologically make sense. That's a load of crap. That's BS. You got to be crapping me. You're a pain in my ass. Holy crap, my ass. Why you always got to be up my ass? This is bullshit. This is shit. What? I can't digest this. I can't stomach this. You make me sick to my stomach. I want to puke. Crap. And how do you think our subconscious mind might react in a time of crisis when we're like, oh crap, I'm going to get hit by a car? This happens in milliseconds. Oh, is this car crap we need to get rid of that's about to run into us? You never know how the subconscious mind is going to interpret things. And these phrases are not just in English, they're in all languages. So the cause is a traumatic event. Then the cure is altering the conscious and subconscious memory of that event and its PTSD triggers. That's the cure. And you need a tool to implement this. And the tool to implement this is my 13-day protocol. And this right now, what you're watching is day 0 of this 13-day protocol. We are actively right now, as you watch this, we're altering. I'm teaching you how to get further and further into your subconscious mind. You are literally one realization away from freeing the traumatic memory in your brain in order to do, so one guy I worked with, he was having a lot of gut issues. He was giving me a hard time. He was like, I need to write a memory of when I felt happy about having pizza. And he's like, I hate pizza. Like, my last flare is because I ate pizza. I'm like, just do it. And he's like, okay, yeah, my birthday party, I felt excited because I was at Chuck E. Cheese's or something. And then the next day he texted me and he said, I didn't have much time for lunch and I grabbed a pizza and I ate it and I was absolutely fine. I changed his belief about pizza because there was other things going on in the background, but the pizza didn't cause his first flare. He just happened to be eating a pizza when he broke up with his girlfriend. And I had the exact same thing happen to a girl where she would just break out when she ate pizza. She wasn't afraid of food because she knew it was caused by trauma, but she was still reacting to pizza. The night of her first flare, she had pizza. So pizza held like a special place in her brain for being dangerous because it was the first time she saw blood in the toilet. Where in reality, her conflict had just resolved, which it was like a fight between friends at school. That it had resolved that night, and she kind of went out that night with her family to eat pizza. That's when she started going into the post-conflict resolution phase, and the body started to get rid of extra gut cells, which we're going to talk about how this works in the intestine. So for the small intestine, if we're looking at the brainstem right here, this is so confusing for me because I'm like looking in two mirrors, but it should be something like that. So if somebody had something going on in the small intestine, there would be activity here and here. Here's a closer look. What does this tissue do? Oh, it's the gut. It helps you digest and absorb food. Good, not specific enough. The small intestine absorbs food. The stomach digests food. The pancreas helps digest food. The gallbladder helps digest fat. The small intestine is a vehicle of absorption. And to get more confirmation on that, so what happens during the conflict active phase, there's cell proliferation. These extra cells that grow, they grow in a flat growth pattern. The other growth that can happen, but it does not happen in the small intestines, is a cauliflower growth. A cauliflower growth can happen in the stomach. And when it's in the stomach, this growth secretes more enzymes and more acid to help you digest. But you do not find them in the small intestine. You only find these flat growths with help with absorbing. So the conflict for the small intestine is you had already digested it and broke it down, but you couldn't absorb it. The way Dr. Hammer describes it is indigestible anger, which I think is very easy to get confused because you got it into your mouth, you chewed it, you swallowed it, figuratively, you digested it, and now you were just kind of waiting for it to break down more and absorb it. And your brain, your subconscious mind, wouldn't have demanded your body to build this in order to absorb it. Like, this is very expensive to do. It wouldn't do it nilly-willy for no reason. So what's also happening during the conflict active phase is there's bacteria growing. Some people, when they get a SIBO test, they'll have high levels of bacteria, but they won't have symptoms because during the conflict active phase, they aren't active yet. But when the conflict gets resolved, these microbes will remove these extra gut cells that help with absorption, and we get symptoms like pain and bloody diarrhea and diarrhea. And we also have headaches and fatigue because remember, the brain relay is healing as well. So that's what's happening in the small intestine. Like, diagnosing things should be so straightforward, but doctors are just not trained to use their brain. So Dr. Burrell Crohn's did not want to use this term. He actually wanted to call it regional ileitis, and the ileum is the last part of the small intestine. Now, the term for Crohn's disease today can mean inflammation anywhere from mouth to butt. But if I punch somebody in the mouth and I kick them in the butt, they won't get diagnosed with Crohn's. It's still hard today to detect inflammation here. You usually do it with an MRI or some sort of a CT scan. Sometimes you can shove the colonoscopy camera far enough up here where you can see inflammation here, but you really can't get any further than here. You have the capsule endoscopy, which you could swallow and potentially see inflammation anywhere. But somebody could have symptoms. They go to the doctor. They're super slow and incompetent. And so it takes 6 months to get in for a colonoscopy. And by the time you get in there, you've resolved the conflict or you've downgraded the conflict. And when they look around, they don't see anything. And you might still be having like minor symptoms. So like I see that happen a lot too. But Crohn's usually gets diagnosed when they find inflammation here. And my guess is because that's what the term originally used to mean. If you try to have this conversation with a GI doctor, he'll look at you like he just won't even know what's going on. He's like, Crohn's is the name of a doctor? I didn't know that. Well, that's interesting. Regional, it's not, don't even try. It will be very painful. Yeah, it usually gets diagnosed when they find inflammation here, but it depends on what side of the bed he wakes up. It depends on what he was taught in med school. Don't get too hung up on these terms. I see so many people, they get hung up. I don't know what I have. I don't know if it's Crohn's or colitis. You literally just need to know where the inflammation is because that will help us track down what the conflict is. Don't get too hung up on these diagnoses. This is somebody I helped with Crohn's disease who had horrible gut pain. How many times were you going to the bathroom before you started?
Before it was like 2-3 times, but it was all diarrhea. But my main issue was pain, horrible pain. After a week, my symptoms gone completely. Everything was under control.
So celiac disease, which today that term means someone is allergic to gluten. But for the longest time, since the time of Hippocrates, because it's a Greek word, celiac is the Greek word for abdominal. It's almost like how we use the term leaky gut today. Like if somebody had gut issues, during that time, they couldn't stick things up your butt and stick cameras up there and look around. So they just said, oh, you have gut issues. You have celiac disease. You have gut disease. That's all. That's like literally what the term means. It's gut disease in Greek. But in the 1940s and 50s, this is a Danish doctor. I think he was taking care of kids in the hospital during World War II that had digestive issues. And somehow he got this idea, and when kids eat wheat, they get gut issues. And keep in mind, during this time, like these kids were suffering from tremendous trauma. Their house had been blown up. Most of them were probably starving half the year because of food shortages. They didn't know if a bomb was going to fall on their house. Their parents and half their family had probably been killed in the war. These kids were under insane amounts of stress, and that's what was causing their gut issues. And he didn't really produce good results, and it was literally impossible to follow gluten-free. It's like hard to follow a gluten-free diet now. Like imagine doing it before gluten-free products existed. Another way to look at gluten intolerance is, this was a video I found of this dude was eating like a breakfast sandwich on the subway, and I guess you're not allowed to eat on the subway on public transportation, so this cop was like, hey, put away your sandwich. And he was like, no, I'm hungry, I need to eat. And so he arrested him. So the brain might now react to sandwiches, to gluten, because it was the cornerstone of being thrown in jail and having his life turned upside down over a stupid sandwich. And in the 90s or the early 2000s, this Italian doctor right here, he really popularized the gluten allergy thing. It's really insane. Like the other day I was talking to this woman from Ukraine, and she's also Christian. I was eating a piece of bread and she was like about to lose her mind. And I was just thinking, I was like trying to be polite, but I was also thinking like, okay, you're Ukrainian, so wheat flows in your blood. The Ukrainian flag, on top of it is blue and on the bottom is gold. So the gold stands for golden fields of wheat. So it's on your national flag, the food that you think is that's going to kill you and that has kept your family alive for generations. 100, 200 years ago, the house your family lived under, its roof was made out of wheat. Your bed was made out of wheat. You fed wheat to your livestock animals so that they could give you meat and milk products to stay alive. Oh, dairy's bad. Oh, don't even get me started. We'll get to that in the next slide. It's just insane. Oh, I see you're wearing a cross. Oh, did you read the book that comes with that symbolage? The staff of life, wheat. The disciples. Guys, I'm not even like a religious person, and I know this stuff. The disciples would eat raw wheat out of the fields uncooked. It's biblically approved. And, oh yeah, I have faith in my creator. But yeah, you say that, but is that really true if you're afraid of the very things that have kept your family alive, your lineage alive for eons? You believe the holistic nuttery over the hard facts. And if you believe something to be bad on a deep subconscious level, when it comes into you, your body is going to react. I did not start reacting to gluten until I went on the specific carbohydrate diet. And then when I learned about sourdough bread, I believed sourdough bread was safe and I could eat sourdough bread and have no symptoms. Then I learned German New Medicine and I understood it stems from traumatic events, and then I could eat all bread. But what, Mike, what about the glyphosate and blah, blah, blah? I agree. Glyphosate is not good. I wish I could eat wheat that wasn't sprayed. But, what happened? I could eat wheat when I go to Europe, but I can't eat wheat when I'm in America. What's that all about? Because there's glyphosate and there's GMO. First off, there's no GMO wheat. It's not sold on a grand scale yet. I know half of my clients are from America. Half of them are born and raised in Europe, where there's a lot less glyphosate. How do you answer that? And guess what? And with all these people who I talk to, it all stems from a traumatic event. I know this seems redundant, but I know the second you leave this video, you're going to start scrolling on TikTok. You're going to get all excited about gluten intolerance this and dairy intolerance that. I need you to see how insanely ridiculous it is to believe that energy and nutrients are hurting you. Gluten is a protein. Proteins, it's the word proteus. It's a Greek word proteus. It means of the utmost importance. And you're afraid of it. You're afraid of the most important nutrient, protein. It's literally insane. We are glorifying eating disorders today, and I need to help protect your brain from this. Like, this is therapy. This right here is the therapy. I'm putting words, I'm putting pictures, I'm showing you where this holistic nuttery came from to protect you from that. These food intolerances are pretty interesting. So I believed all food were safe, but I would always react to cappuccinos. Every morning I have coffee with milk. I didn't react to that, but if I was out and I got a cappuccino, I would react violently. Until one day I realized one of the breakups that I went through, she had posted a picture of her having a big cappuccino from La Pan, which is like this American chain of like bakery, but they serve their cappuccinos like in this huge bowl. And that was like the center of our fight. Like, yeah, I hope you guys like enjoy your stupid cappuccinos. Screw off. A lot of people are allergic to dairy today because dairy is the first thing that keeps us alive. In the wild, monkeys, like they're breastfed for 2 or 3 years and they take a lot less time to develop than humans do. And most humans today, if they're lucky, get breastfed until they're 6 months old. Usually mom's back to work in 3 months, if you're lucky. There's a lot of trauma that can happen with babies involving dairy. Being forced to drink milk. I used to have cereal and then I wouldn't drink the milk, so I'd get yelled at for that. Not being allowed to have ice cream. There's so many instances where we can suffer a traumatic event as kids. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but can you remember being a kid and being denied ice cream? It felt like the end of the world. It's not the end of the world now because all you have to do to go get ice cream is pull up your phone and tell McDonald's to deliver Glovo to your house, or you just go and you go get it. But when you're a kid and you're completely dependent on your parents and you don't know when you will see ice cream again, it is the end of the world. It registers deep in the subconscious mind. This is another person just a few days into the 13-day protocol. Hey, I drank 3 beers with my friends, had a burger. I didn't have to eat one of those stupid lettuce wrap burgers. I had sweet potato fries. I had the biggest poop of my life the next day. Feel great, no issues. The next morning, I went to Starbucks. I had a coffee and an egg sandwich, and I was fine. This is years after following a crazy diet. Just a few days. Just a few days doing this. He didn't even complete it. It's all controlled from the subconscious mind. Let's talk about the colon, the last part of the digestive system right here, the colon. Now, when I see a lot of people with colitis, they're like, oh, I've been eating easy to digest foods. Like, why isn't my colitis getting better? This does not digest food. Doesn't digest food. It barely absorbs food. It absorbs water. Most of the absorption happens here. So like there, right out of the get-go, the logic is messed up. So we want our poop to look like this, right? When someone has like black poop, it could be something you ate, but usually the higher up the bleeding is in the digestive system, the more dark purple, black the poop will be when it comes out. I never saw this poop for me. And even if you have bleeding here, it might just get absorbed. You only start to see like red poop like this, like pretend this is blood when it's in the colon. And again, if somebody has mucus production happening up here, it usually gets reabsorbed. And even if someone has extra mucus production here, it's usually getting absorbed. We don't usually see it show up in our stool until it's like somewhere around here at the end of the colon. But what's the conflict for the colon? We've already absorbed it, or most of it. We just haven't absorbed the last 10%, the last 5% of this thing important to our survival we need to absorb. Now, in this part of the colon, only flat growths will develop, these flat growths, which aid with absorption. So if somebody has inflammation here or here, then it has to do with I couldn't absorb this thing and I thought I had already absorbed it. But when we get to here, in here, we start to see flat growths, and we also start to see cauliflower growths. And I think the purpose of these cauliflower growths is because they're not digesting anything. I think it's to produce more mucus. I think they produce more mucus to help slide the crap out of you better, or to help protect you from the crap better. Like, I can't get rid of this crap. I can't break this crap down. And also the stool, it's still very liquidy right here. But when it starts to round this corner here, that's when it starts to turn into a turd, and we could call it crap. That's colitis. Somebody will get diagnosed with colon cancer. So usually this right here, this could get, depending on whether you find it in the conflict active phase or in the post-conflict resolution phase, whether it's going to get you're going to get diagnosed with cancer. Dr. Crohn's talks about cutting out certain parts of the intestines. So if this part of the intestines, the brain says, I designated this part of the intestines to deal with this conflict, and you just cut it off, right? The brain's sending the signal to put this part of the gut into overdrive, but it doesn't exist anymore. So they don't have symptoms anymore. But, usually people don't get symptoms when they're conflict active. Usually people are coming to the doctors when they see blood in the toilet, when they're having a lot of pain, and that just doesn't happen when the conflict is active and there's cell growth happening. It happens when the conflict gets resolved and we no longer need these cells and starts to get rid of them. So the air quotes tumor, the growth looks different, and they're like, well, we can only call this a tumor if it's like actively growing at, whatever rate. The second you resolve the conflict, the cell proliferation stops and it starts to become removed. So when you're like looking at it under a microscope, it's like, well, it's not growing, so I don't know. We're just going to call it a polyp. So that's what's going on. This is somebody else that I helped. Let's watch his little testimonial here.
I was up all night, cramping in my bed, sweating. The night was worse because I go to sleep for an hour, wake up, go to the bathroom, go to sleep for another 30 minutes, wake up, bleed. And it was just a mess. I couldn't work. I quit my job. I just couldn't move really out of the house. I couldn't barely walk. So my wife's like, man, we need to go to the ER. And we just started looking on YouTube, first about diets. And then I just happened to come across Heal Your Gut guy. He just came up, man. I literally started watching probably 4 or 5 of your videos. And I was like, man, I think there's really something to this. Within 2 weeks, not even out of the hospital, I just had solid stools. From April 1st to May 1st, I went from like 120 to about 148, 150, about nice. Almost 30 actually. So
that's crazy. Wow. IBS gets diagnosed when they look around, they shove a camera down your throat, mount it, your stomach looks fine, your esophagus looks fine, your breath stinks a little bit, but you look fine. Hey, turn around for a second. They shove a camera up your butt, and your butt looks fine. I could tell you've been doing squats. Your colon looks fine. They get into here. I don't see any inflammation. I don't see any of this. Looks fine to me. All right, let's do an MRI or a CT. There's nothing. I don't know. There's nothing wrong. I don't know where your symptoms are coming from. So IBS usually gets diagnosed when they do all these tests and they can't find inflammation anywhere. And they go, let's just call it irritable bowel syndrome. Most of the time when someone has IBS diarrhea, what's causing their diarrhea is the gallbladder or the pancreas. They're all on the same relay right here that I was showing you earlier. There will be bile in their stool, and it will be stinky. It will burn when it comes out. So the gallbladder is like releasing all of its bile. And also, if we were to look at this brain a little bit differently, it's also really close to the rectal muscles. And so when that part of the brain gets stimulated, I saw a PTSD trigger, this little part of the brain, spat, if somebody were to point a gun at me, I'd be like, whoop, whoop, and that's essentially what the brain's doing too. It's like, and it's right next to the relay where the rectal muscles. So not only is this being told to dump all of its bile, which stimulates peristalsis, and it's also highly irritating. There's something literally physically, chemically irritating in our gut We got to get it out. And then also the brain is telling these muscles down here to get to work to get this stuff out of us. And this is the territorial anger, which I was talking about earlier. If you want to hear the description of that again, just rewind back to when I was talking about the lesser curvature of the stomach. It's the same conflict. Infections, the gut microbiome, the terrain theory. So this right here is something called the somatid cycle. When they would look at certain microbes, they noticed that it went from like a spore form to bacteria form to macrobacteria form to yeast form to fungal form to like cancer form. And it could go back and forth, like it can morph back and forth, back and forth. They thought it was like a terrain theory thing. In truth, they don't understand what it is, but I just want to show you this, that we think of like bacteria and fungi and cancer cells are these bad things invading our body, but in reality, like a cancer cell that develops, the body will build its own blood supply highway to the tumor. Imagine if Canada invades America and America builds a road straight to their military base of operations to help them invade us better. Doesn't make any sense. We're blaming the firemen who are here to help fight the fire, and we're blaming them for starting the fire. This is somebody who had, convinced I have the horrible, most worst Candida in the world, and literally just a couple of days into the 13-day protocol, he was able to have ribs. This dude lives in Texas, and he couldn't have like barbecue sauce on his ribs. I want to cry. Mac and cheese, gluten, and dairy, fine. No issues. At one point, at the height of my holistic nuttery, I bought Candida from a lab, only $20. And I fed it its favorite food, white processed bread. And I tested different essential oils to see like which one would kill it better. Here I'm testing frankincense oil, didn't do anything. But then when I used oregano oil essential oil, and I remember it only took 1 drop of oregano oil essential oil, and like Candida did not grow at all. And so I made like this crazy disinfecting protocol, and then I would like throw in all sorts of probiotics, and like people just like wouldn't get better. I was like, I literally can't get more nutrients into somebody. I can't disinfect and reculture probiotics more into anybody. I can't do it any better. What's really going on? And German New Medicine and this trauma approach was the thing, because like at some point I started to notice like the people with good attitudes seem to get better a lot faster. The people who are just always in a bad mood and are always negative, like they just seem to never get better. And here are plenty of lab studies that show when you stress out rodents, it changes their gut microbiome. Just this video alone will save you hundreds of hours. I'm really jealous of you if you're right out of the doctor's office and you haven't spent $1,000 on crazy wacko remedies yet. This person they were about to hit the button to buy $3,000 worth of probiotics and disinfecting supplements. And then he came across my content and invested into the 13-day protocol instead. Saved him thousands of dollars because those supplements weren't going to do anything. So let's talk about PTSD triggers. Let's pretend that this guy's conflict shock was the mother unexpectedly grabbed his laptop and smashed it on the front porch. What are potential PTSD triggers? I was in the middle of digesting my game, and then it was like abruptly, and I already digested, I was absorbing it, and then it vanished. Maybe, the mom was yelling, so maybe anytime somebody yells, this person gets symptoms. Maybe anytime he sees the front door, he gets symptoms because it happened at the front door. I've actually seen this before. That one guy, he would get symptoms every time he walked through the front door. If he walked through the back door of the house, he was fine. If he walked through the front door, horrible symptoms. And because of his conflict shock was one day he walked through the front door, and I think his sister did something horrible to him. Maybe he was supposed to mow the lawn, or maybe the next door neighbor was mowing the lawn, or maybe the mother was mowing the lawn when he was supposed to be mowing the lawn. And now the smell of a freshly cut lawn, like, oh, my symptoms are always bad in the spring and the summer. Well, that's when everybody starts mowing the lawn. But I don't have symptoms in the winter because nobody mows their lawn in the winter. Like, we're kind of looking at it in that sort of way. It's a very different way of thinking. Maybe he was supposed to wash the dishes, and when mom came home and saw that the dishes were still dirty, she lost it and broke his computer. So now dirty dishes, anytime, maybe just seeing dirty dishes, or maybe when he's supposed to wash dishes but doesn't feel like it, he gets symptoms. Maybe he was in the middle of eating a sandwich and playing video games when somebody smashed his computer, and maybe that's why he reacts to gluten. Or maybe he was eating gluten when the conflict was resolved. Maybe he was moving out of his parents' house, and that would resolve the conflict. And in the middle of his move, you got to eat. You're burning a lot of calories, so he goes to Subway and gets a sandwich. And that is the night where he first sees blood in the toilet. And I never eat Subway, and it was gluten. I went online and I saw YouTube. They're saying gluten causes colitis. Gluten's the devil. Even though I've eaten it a million times and I've never had symptoms until this day. This is how we need to think about undoing these PTSD triggers. And the conscious mind's slow. The conscious mind can't be in on this because it's just too slow. We have literally milliseconds to deal with this, and the conscious mind literally takes seconds, if not minutes, to deal with something. We're going to let the subconscious mind control this, and the subconscious mind decides we're going to put this into overdrive. We're going to put that into overdrive. But luckily, we can use our conscious mind to manipulate it. The cure to fix your gut, and I still haven't gone over everything. We still have like lots of other conditions to go through. And again, and I know this seems tedious, but since birth, you have been brainwashed to believe holistic nonsense and modern medicine nonsense. I really have to break. You might have to listen to this video a few times. I really have to break that. Also, my 13-day protocol does a good job of breaking that as well. That's what these exercises do. It breaks these subconscious limiting beliefs that you have, and they're disguised as empowering beliefs. Oh, if I just eat a perfect diet, I will be healthy. That's like an empowering belief, right? It's total bullshit. It's like disguised as a good thing, but it's actually like, yeah, sure, it's great to eat healthier. It's distracting you. You have to address the trauma that's putting your gut in and out of overdrive. And I literally just have to beat you over the head and get these old memories out of you and install good beliefs. And that just takes time. This is what my 13-day protocol does. The cure is to understand the more nuanced details of German new medicine so that you understand what your brain is doing. All of your symptoms, your brain orchestrate. It's like your brain was at the source. Your senses sensed something and your brain processed it. You're nothing but a collection of memories. Guys, I haven't even talked about in this video how the mind works. That's my favorite part of my 13-day protocol, is how the mind works. What emotions are, what negative and what memories are. I have so many cool things to tell you guys that I just don't have time to do in this video, and I can't really make public videos about it because it's like so obscure it wouldn't get any views. I have so many cool things to share with you about diet, about the Weston A. Price diet. He was a dentist who visited a bunch of primitive populations that had 0% cavities, and he wanted to know what they ate or what they did to have such perfect teeth. But he pretty much documented what their diets were, and they just had these amazing diets that were super high in nutrients. Their diet was helping them, but in reality, when these primitive populations were thrown into the modern culture, it just destroyed their brain. That's what was causing the majority of their symptoms, and they were just put on a terrible diet. But I'm gonna share with you the best diet possible. You will have no confusion about diet in my 13-day protocol, but we're not going to talk about it much on day 0. How to find the conflict shock and PTSD triggers is something I really can't draw much of a parallel to it unless you were a nerd like me. I'm a self-taught computer programmer. Most people just don't have the logic skills of a computer programmer. One misplaced decimal or semicolon, or you miss a bracket or a parenthesis somewhere and like the whole thing breaks. And our brain is literally just a program. And I have to teach you that program and how to troubleshoot that program. Us computer programmers have a lot of tools to help us figure out like what line of code is broken. We don't have nice tools like that until Elon Musk can put a chip in our head. And then the vast majority of you don't really even need to resolve the conflict, or a lot of the time just finding the conflict shock and its PTSD triggers will stop your symptoms. Because the conflict shock, it was at a time where the event caught you off guard and it got buried in your subconscious. Whereas now, like, you could probably deal with it psychologically, but at that time you couldn't deal with it psychologically. And just convincing your subconscious mind of that can stop the symptoms. That's what my 13-day protocol, I'm shifting these memories in your head. I wish I could meet with, that's a lie. I'm super introverted. If I do more than 2 coaching calls a day, I am exhausted and I don't have enough time to do research. I just don't enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it a little bit. So that's why I made this 13-day protocol. It's better than doing coaching with me. Like, like sometimes I watch it and I'm like, wow, I forgot that I said that. That's like a really good point. It just keeps you on track, which I could not do even if I was sitting right next to you. This is exactly what I would do if I had to do it all over again. And so what it consists of is a bunch of educational videos, very similar to this video you're watching right here, a little bit more straightforward and to the point. Every video has quizzes to kind of help drive home important concepts that you need to understand. But probably my favorite part is this protocol workbook. So along with the educational videos, each day has a little mini worksheet to help you memorize important ideas I need you to understand, and also to help recall and dig up certain memories. Because a lot of the time what happens is someone will do the worksheet and they're like, oh, that was a stupid exercise. But it shifted, like we started digging. And then that person will go take a shower or go to the grocery store or they'll wash the dishes. And then all of a sudden, boom. Oh, I remember. I was in college and, my boyfriend broke up with me. It's amazing the memories that come to us when we're ready and when we have switched things around a little bit. So what I charge to do the 13-day protocol with somebody is $5,000 in US dollars. I know that sounds like a lot, like at first, but if you go to the ER, they're going to charge you way more than that, even with insurance. And you won't know what the root cause is. You won't know the correct steps to, you're clueless. Like they literally, if you're lucky, they'll give you some sort of pill to take, which doesn't address the root cause. And it's going to be 50-50 whether it's going to even do anything to your symptoms. I just here for free have told you the exact root cause and what the cure is and what the treatment is. Today, filming this video, I've literally had to mentally prepare. Like it took me forever to get this information together, maybe a decade, but years. And this is all I do is I nerd out about this stuff 24/7. It took me at least 100 hours to put this PowerPoint presentation together. And then just filming this today is physically exhausting. I have over at least 10 people a day on different platforms asking for my help. This is the most efficient way I can deliver help to you guys is with this 13-day protocol. This is how I efficiently can help you guys, because if I were to do one-on-one coaching with you guys, I would barely help one person a day. So I normally sell this 13-day protocol for $1,000. But if you stay to the end of this preview, I'm going to give you a crazy deal. This is somebody who was days away from getting surgery, which would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and it wouldn't have fixed the problem. Let's hear what she has to say.
It was a mountain of blood. The whole colon, it wasn't just ulcerative colitis. It was pancolitis, so it means not a single part of my intestine wasn't covered in ulcer. If this flare does not stop, they were begging me to cut out my colon. Literally, They were saying, I had my colonoscopy a month ago and the colon is clear.
So on this study right here, I believe it's from the human colon. They were talking to this woman. She got into a new marriage and her stepdaughters were just terrible. When she was talking about what her stepdaughters do to her and she was like sad and depressed, her intestinal muscles stopped moving. So what these squiggly lines right here, what they represent is the movement of the intestinal muscles. So, they're moving normally. Oh, I'm sad and depressed. They're such jerks. And it stops moving. Then they got her talking about something else. Then they got her talking about something the stepdaughters did that made her angry. Those little pieces of shit. Then they got talking about something that made her sad and depressed. Doesn't move. Constipated. So let's think about this. Why would we want to move food through the intestines slower? It's already been digested. Remember, the stomach, the gastroparesis, which is constipation of the stomach, I guess you could call it, the muscles stop moving in a way to hold the food in the stomach, and they don't stop moving. They actually expand and stay expanded, and they close at the top and at the bottom to hold the food in the stomach longer so it can digest, sit in the digestive juices longer. So with constipation, your brain, your very primitive subconscious brain, thinks it's a good idea to have it stay in the organ, the intestines, that absorbs food. I've already digested this. I need more time to absorb it. Maybe something happened where money was taken away from you or respect was taken away from you. I need more time to absorb this precious thing important to my survival. And it's very subconscious, because a lot of the time the thing is like so stressful, like the person just blocks it out. Like I've seen some people where they'll get a bill in the mail, like a $500 bill, because they need to pay property tax on their car or something. And they're like, oh, I'll pay that later. Even if they have like a ton of money in the bank and they could easily pay it, they like still don't want to. But maybe at some point that person had to pay a bill. And it was like, either I pay this bill or I can't eat. Happens to a lot of immigrants, or when money's tight, or when you've lost your job or something like that. That's the shocking moment that, okay, every time I got to pay a bill, we need to hold on to money. Even though that person might have a ton of money now and just like flaps it down. Just having that realization could stop the constipation. For other people, they might actually need money. Like maybe they're kind of like tight on money. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a good income source. So this one person had it, and their husband paid the bill, and instantly the constipation went away. So that's kind of what we're looking for when somebody's constipated. But when people have diarrhea and constipation, they love to talk about the gut this, the gut that. Guess what? The gut ain't responsible for diarrhea and constipation. It's not. The intestinal muscles are responsible. With diarrhea, we're trying to get something out of us as fast as possible. With constipation, we're trying to hold on to something. Another study that I saw with constipation is they think like the gut muscles just stop moving, and that's not the case. What they're actually doing is they are expanding. They're expanding, and then the rectum, I've heard some people say that the rectum muscles are just clamped shut. My butthole's just clamped shut. I can't unclamp it. The body is trying to absorb something precious to your survival that you've already digested on a deep subconscious level. What conflict shock is that linked to? And if somebody has like super dry or pebbly stools, what Dr. Hammer would see is that the kidney collecting tubules are active and the body's trying to hold on to as much water as possible, because that's like kind of like our most important thing that we need to survival. I just really quick want to go over the different types of poop. If somebody has green, let's just pretend this is green, like this is green, biley, foamy, stinky poop, the gallbladder going in and out of overdrive because of the territorial anger or the identity conflict. We want our poops to look like this. Now, I haven't gotten to these issues right here, but if you have like hemorrhoids and anal fissures and you have a poop come down through here, it might be streaked with mucus and blood. You might have a polyp growing somewhere near the rectum and there's not enough room to go by, and maybe a pencil stool goes by. Maybe all this, you have a bunch of flat growths all over your colon and it's all very inflamed and it narrows your colon, and then a pencil stool comes out. Maybe something is happening near the end of the colon right here, and only mucus is coming out, and maybe sometimes blood. And if somebody has diarrhea that's linked to only the small intestine and the large intestine, then they just get like normal watery diarrhea versus the biley, stinky, foamy diarrhea. So we kind of have to use these things as clues, and then from our lab work and stuff like that to gauge what's going on. But blood and mucus are a sign that we either have a lot of PTSD triggers or the conflict is constantly on and off, on and off. When somebody's bloated, this is very interesting. This is a new way for you to think about this. Now, what organ is responsible for bloating? Oh, it's the gut. The gut's responsible for bloating. No, it's not. The intestinal muscles are responsible for bloating. The gut is taking, the intestines are taking up more space. And it's the muscles that tell it, like, think about it. Like, if I want to get something out of me as fast as possible, what am I going to do? My brain is going to tell all of these muscles to contract. 1 second later, blam. We went from holding 2 liters of stuff to maybe less than 1 liter of stuff in literally a second, just by contracting all these muscles. And I could make myself go to the bathroom even faster if I start contracting these muscles, and it squeezes it out of me. Boom. Just one little electrical signal. And then within a second, the brain can tell everything to expand and take up more room in our gut. And we're like, oh, I feel bloated and everything. But, you know, in reality, all the muscles just expanded. So that's one way someone could feel bloated. The other way is with trapped gas. So let's say there's something here in the gut and we need more time to absorb it, but not everything else. So the muscles will actually like trap it. It will trap it here, and it actually just might like mix right there. Just that little part we need to mix this up more. And then everything else just functions normally. In order to trap gas, your gut needs to decide to hold in at least 2 places, hold down really tight. Why would the body want to do that? And I believe it's to aid absorption, and I hate to say aid digestion, but think about your pressure cooker on your kitchen counter. When you need to cook something fast, it breaks down faster under pressure. So let's say this food is in the intestines. It needs to be absorbed or broken down faster. It's already sitting in a bunch of digestive enzymes. It's in the process of being chemically broken down more so you can better absorb it. But chemical reactions tend to happen faster under pressure. And so what it does, the intestines can absorb gas and release gas. Your brain has control over that. It traps the gas there to create a high pressure environment to quicken the chemical breakdown of the food. And again, this is in a figurative sense. Usually the food you're eating is probably just fine, doesn't need help. You need help digesting something in your life. But that high pressure environment helps you better break down and absorb this thing important to your survival. Now, I've seen some funny cases where this one girl, the thing that she wanted to hold on to but couldn't was a guy. And the initial conflict was she saw the guy with another girl who had a flat stomach. So every time she was fearful of her man leaving her because she didn't have a flat stomach, the body would get bloated and not give her a flat stomach and make her more stressed out about it and make her gut even more bloated, which would make her more worried about her man not. So it just became like this really bad situation. And so farting or flatulence is linked to this as well. Like the person is going like in and out of needing to hold on to this hard to digest, this hard to absorb thing.
My doctors told me, hey, so I remember you came in here last year telling me you had a bleeding and you had ulcerative colitis and stuff. How are you about that? And I was like, oh, it's gone. I used to have a lot of issues, a lot of emotional issues. Those issues, I mean, those physical issues were the reflection of my being. I wasn't feeling supported, back pain. I wasn't performing that well, knee pain, blood on my stools, some conflict with my family, some fights and stuff. It's the way I perceive things. It's definitely not food because I'm eating a lot of gluten and I used to restrict gluten.
All right, so anal fissures and hemorrhoids are just two sides of the same coin. For men, it could be territorial anger or the identity conflict. Go look at the stomach for a more detailed explanation of that. But for a female, it's always going to be an identity conflict. I think that's misleading because the word identity means today it has this meaning of like, oh, I'm a unique little flower. Your identity is the group you belong to. And for a female, like, what man do you belong to? And I know that's sexist, but that's just how it is. What man do you belong to? What organization do you belong to? What business do you want to belong to? I saw one woman, she didn't know if she wanted to stay at home and take care of the kids or if she wanted to go back to work. And there was an incident where kid was really young and she was stuck at work and she couldn't get to her kid. And that's when she really became conflicted. And this might sound weird, like why making and giving myself an anal fissure would help me with this conflict. The way animals mark their territory and the way that animals share their identity is like if you look at dogs, they like sniff each other's butt. So I don't know if it's like their dating profile or like their Facebook profile. Like they get all the information they need to know about this dog by sniffing its rectum, by sniffing its butthole. This cell loss widens the butt, and if the cell loss is bad enough, it goes into the muscles, which makes it even easier to poop. Animals, they poop on the inside of their territory to mark the territory, and they pee on, or at least males do, they pee on the perimeter of the territory to let people know, hey, this is my territory, stay out. And then females pee on the inside. You know, you can tell by how fresh it smells whether the animal's like still living there or not. This is an identity conflict. I don't know what there is a territory. I don't know if I don't know if I want to belong to it or not. It helps you poop and mark your territory better. So what happens is a cell loss during the conflict active phase. It's widening your butt to help you mark your territory. Most people don't notice the fissures, but when the conflict gets resolved, there's cell restoration. It might become itchy. Somebody might have mucus and blood in their stool. I saw one guy get this when his wife left and took the kids, and he was really angry about it. So it was like more of a territorial anger. He had a masculine response to it. She came back. They worked things out. It got better. But every few months, they would get into a big fight, and his hemorrhoids would come back. A perianal fistula, it's described in a lot of the German New Medicine texts as not being able to get rid of crap fast enough. I don't like that conflict description just because like it's not the survival purpose of the perianal duct, because the perianal glands are, again, they're part of like your identity of how animals share their identity. Hey, sniff my perianal gland, buddy. And the perianal ducts, the duct is like a road. It helps the juice from the gland get to the butt faster. Maybe the conflict would better be described as I couldn't share my identity fast enough. But anyways, the duct, you pretend this is a duct, it's cell loss to allow the duct to carry more anal juice faster. Then when it gets resolved, it's cell restoration, and if it's on, off, a lot of mucus and blood and pus starts to build up and it gets trapped and it creates an abscess. And if that abscess is bad enough or it doesn't have anywhere to go, the body will create a fistula and you get a perianal fistula. And sometimes the fistula can branch off into like the urinary tract and the vaginal tract. It can go all, I've seen some pretty nasty, I haven't seen them, but I've heard people describe pretty nasty fistulas down in that region. If you get the conflict taken care of fast enough, sometimes it will clear up on itself and it will self-heal. Or if it's been going longer than a year, then usually the tract is covered with scar tissue and it won't heal by itself, and we have to do the Ayurvedic treatment or get it lasered shut. I had mine lasered shut, and then it came back about a year later, and then I did the Ayurvedic thread treatment, and I haven't seen it since. It has not come back, and it's been about 3 years now. So if you have bone pain, like bad neck pain or bad back pain or arthritis or fatigue or anemia, what Dr. Hammer would see, I don't have a brain diagram for this, but you can see where he was looking. He saw that the bones were going in and out of overdrive, and that's a self-devaluation conflict. I'm not good enough. The red blood cells are primarily made in the bone marrow. So when the bone is going in and out of overdrive, the conflict itself, like, oh, my girlfriend broke up with me, I'm not good enough, that could have been the self-devaluation, and I couldn't absorb her, and it turned the gut into overdrive. That could have happened. Or when you get diagnosed and you're like, let's say you get a new girlfriend, the healing symptoms start, and then you get kicked off the hockey team because you weren't good enough to begin with, but almost good enough to be on the team. But now this disease, you sure enough aren't good enough. You can't compete. You can't be on the team. So, something like that could have happened. So it's a self-devaluation conflict. And when the bones are going in and out of overdrive, they aren't making red blood cells, which is going to make you feel super fatigued. Pretend this is a bone. The bone is cell loss, cell loss, cell loss, cell loss. And then when it gets resolved, it's cell restoration to build it back stronger. And when you're building bones, you don't want the person running around. So it's also another part of this so-called intelligent design is to make this person very fatigued so they don't try to run around while they're trying to heal their bones. This is somebody who did the 13-day protocol, and they said within 14 days they went from a 6 hemoglobin level to a 12, and they also gained like 10 pounds in like 2 weeks. And I've had zero blood or pain for quite some time. Acne is part of the cerebellum back here, and this is an attack, feeling attacked or unclean. It could also be an integrity conflict, and that's something. I used to have really bad acne. Eczema, psoriasis, and brain fog is caused by a separation conflict. It's either wanting to separate or not wanting to separate from somebody. I've seen some like women get it on their ring finger because their partner didn't want to get married to them. Hair loss can either be this is the epidermis, or it could be the corium skin, which I'm not. So it's like the epidermis, and then underneath it is the corium skin, and the hair go through both of those layers of skin. So it can be either or. I will have like minor hair loss when I'm playing like a game where if you die, like there's no coming back, like World of Warcraft hardcore or like Minecraft hardcore. So I don't know if it's like, oh, I was so stupid I did that. It was like an attack on my intellect. I will see little tiny bits of hair come out in the shower when I'm playing like a really intense game. And then when I stop playing that game, like there's zero hair loss. You want to look for the patterns in the hair loss. This is somebody who was doing German New Medicine. You really can't do German New Medicine. Like, German New Medicine's not working. I tried it. German New Medicine they're laws. They're 5 biological laws that it just is the way it is. It's the laws of biology in you, me, and in my cats, and even in the fly flying around the room. Let's say you're like flying a plane and then it crashes, and then you're like, the laws of gravities don't work. Like when you say German New Medicine doesn't work, like you're saying something to the equivalence of that. The person with the plane, why did the plane crash? 1, maybe they don't know how to drive the plane. 2, maybe the plane was just a really bad plane and the wing was broken or there wasn't proper maintenance done. It's like plane versus the laws of gravity. It's you versus the laws of biology. And if you're not getting the results you want out of German New Medicine, it's not that German New Medicine's not working. We can all argue that German New Medicine isn't explained well, but this person was pretty frustrated for a while because it would go away and then it would come back. It would go away, and I know the conflict. And we got to talking. I'm like, that's not it's not even close. She was doing other people's German New Medicine programs who they spend literally like zero time on gut issues, and they're busy explaining how your toenail works, and it's a lot of information to go through. But in my 13-day protocol, I spend a ton of time on how to find the conflict, how to find the PTSD triggers, and what you need to do to them to just for your subconscious mind to release them. And literally the whole protocol, I consume G&M courses all day. Not all day, but a lot of them. And a lot of them are great for practitioners, and most of them are terrible for the average consumer, the average patient, because most of them are telling you about how the body works instead of telling you about how your brain works and what you need to do to find the conflict and find the PTSD triggers. They spend so much time on the nerdy stuff that they don't have the energy left over to educate you on what you need to do to your brain to get over this stuff. So if somebody has thyroid issues, if somebody has nodules on the right gland, then that extra meat on the gland produces more thyroid hormone to help you get whatever you weren't fast enough to get. If it's on the left side of the gland, then it produces more thyroid hormone to help you get rid of the crap you wanted to get rid of that you weren't fast enough to get rid of it. And then the ducts are a powerlessness or a frontal fear conflict, whether you perceived it in a masculine or a feminine way. A good example of this is I had an ex-girlfriend. She had thyroid issues, and she would be fatigued all day. And then when we got to the grocery store, she'd just get this huge spike of energy and just start like flying all over the store. And then when she would get to the checkout counter, she would just pass out. Like I'd literally have to catch her from hitting her head on the floor. Once we started to identify this pattern, it turns out, she grew up in the Soviet Union. There was times as a kid where her mother sent her to the store to buy some berries or something, and she wasn't fast enough to get it. She came home without cherries or something like that, and mom couldn't make cherry pie and just lost it on her. And this wasn't a conflict anymore. This conflict has been long resolved. It was just trapped in the subconscious mind, and all we had to do was bring it to consciousness. If somebody has low testosterone or depression, they're going to have lots of conflict activity on this side of the brain. Dr. Hammer mapped out everything. What I think is lacking in the G&M community and what I see a lot of people complain about, I'm just a messenger here, and this is how I felt when I started learning G&M. There's a lot of information on what the organs do, but there's literally no information on how to resolve the conflict and examples of how to find the conflict and do all those sorts of things. And that's literally, I spend 75% of the time helping you make the timeline. In this 13-day protocol, I have exercises to help you make that timeline and to find those PTSD triggers. But the big thing I'm also doing is educating you on how the mind works, which German New Medicine gives us a strong foundation and logic on how to do that, but it's never explained. There's so many terms Dr. Hammer uses, and it is like, huh? What does that mean? And then he uses them in these contexts where it's just not how normal people talk, and there's really not a lot. Like, it's like, what book did you get this definition from? Like the territorialism is super important in animal behavior, but it's really not like textbook. Like you take a psych course and they will, like, the word territory won't even be in the book. So if somebody has histamine intolerance or leaky gut, and I know you histamine intolerance people are going to be super offended by what I say, but it's the truth. So essentially, if you say, oh, leaky gut and histamine intolerance is causing my symptoms, this is literally what you're saying. And let's say you have a rash on this side of the body. You eat something, the toxins come into your bloodstream, they avoid all the other organs, and then it hits the arm and it makes a rash on this arm and nowhere else. That is complete insanity. It's insane to believe that. It really is. And especially when you consider that you ate these foods your whole entire life and you're fine until a very specific time in your life. Your friends and family eat these foods and they have zero issues whatsoever. Histamine is just part of the inflammatory response. Inflammation is your body's response to injury. That's an idea I should have mentioned earlier in this video. Inflammation is your body's response to injury. You don't want to suppress the inflammation. You want to stop the injury. And the majority of your injury is coming from a traumatic event that keeps putting an organ in and out of overdrive. It's that plain and simple. Sometimes it's caused by toxins and stuff like that. But in the holistic community, they just over-exaggerate how toxic gluten is. That protein so bad for you. So if you're having histamine intolerance and leaky gut issues, you need to separate out the symptoms, because somebody is histamine intolerance. They got fatigue, they got diarrhea, they got constipation, they got a rash on this arm and a rash on, each symptom is probably its own unique conflict that needs to be dragged out of the subconscious mind. This is somebody who used the 13-day protocol to get better. You're missing out on tons and tons of money not being able to work or not. I spent all of my time, instead of learning how to get better at my job, and I spent all that time trying to figure out how to get more healthy. I had friends, both were making around $100K, making websites and doing web developer stuff. I was stuck at $100K and all my friends were making $200K just because they were investing their energy into their career. And I was investing my energy into my butthole. And this is Corey George, a very successful businessman, entrepreneur. When he was sick, 110 pounds, that's such a bad shape to be in. He was only making $6 million a year. When he got his health back, he was making 14. He's probably making more than that right now. He had all the money in the world at his disposal. He was going to all sorts of health retreats and stuff like that. And the stem cells did help him a lot. Most people can't afford stem cells. I think at least 50% of the people offering stem cells aren't doing a good, they're giving you fake stem cells or stem cells that aren't very active. I've seen people get stem cells and have nothing to show for it. I've seen tons of people get better without stem cells and without these expensive remedies addressing the conflict. Stem cells are great if you can afford them. Imagine you have the best car repairman in the world, yet the driver keeps smashing the car into the side of a building. It doesn't matter how good the steel you use is or how good the repairman is or how often you repair the car, it's eventually going to become unrepairable if you don't find the conflict, if you don't stop smashing it into the side of a wall. So the cause is a traumatic event. Then the cure is altering the conscious and subconscious memory of that traumatic event and its PTSD triggers. And that is what my 13-day protocol does. It is constantly, hitting your brain, poking your subconscious brain to help guide your conscious mind down, that iceberg down to get that traumatic memory and to process it. Unfortunately, Dr. Hammer did not give us much information on how to do this. I've read all of his books in German. I took pictures of every single page and I used Google Translate to translate it into English. There's really not much guidance. And that's not just me talking. Everyone says this, even people who are very good at German New Medicine and even who worked with him. But, doctors and psychologists, they don't know how to find the conflict shock. They have not been trained for this. Dr. Hammer would spend hours with his patients interviewing them. But I have seen in Dr. Hammer's books and other people who, have been doing this for a long time, that half the therapy and half the cure is finding the conflict shock and the tracks or the PTSD triggers. You can't help somebody with their conflict unless you do that first. You have to find the conflict shock first, not just the conflict. So how do you do it? When I do one-on-one coaching calls with people, I literally, and in my 13-day protocol, I have hours of videos of me doing sessions with people where we just make timelines. I literally just make timelines, and I explain to them what their mind and what their body is doing. This is what I do on a one-on-one coaching call. I just explain what their mind and what their body is doing and their subconscious primal programming that we inherited from our ancestors, and we make a timeline. When did your symptoms start? Well, I don't know. Well, I go, well, tell me. Was it when you're in high school? Was it when you're in middle school? Was it during this job or that job or this relationship or that relationship? pull up your phone, look through emails, look through Facebook, look through your Amazon purchases. We're kind of being a detective around like when our symptoms started. In my 13-day protocol, I think like 3 of the days of the 13-day protocol, I'm making my own timelines and I'm sharing other people's timelines with you. It's amazing what the subconscious suppresses. There's one guy I was working with who did a really great job. When he came to the first coaching call, he had a very detailed timeline. And then it wasn't until our third call together where he was like, I just remembered something. One day I was drinking with my soccer friends. He was on like a soccer team. I was drinking with my soccer friends on top of the school, and the cops caught us. And I ran and I jumped off the roof of the school and I broke my leg, and the cops got me. I got sent to jail. My parents had to pick me up, and then my coach was yelling at me. The dude had like totally forgotten about it. It only happened like a year or two ago. A lot of things like that happen. And what part was the traumatic event? Was it when the cop slapped the cuffs on you? Was it when your dad picked you up from the police station? Was it when the coach told you, hey, I'm not letting you on the soccer team anymore? Like, I can only take a guess and guide you in the right way, but only you can tell me how you truly experienced it or how your subconscious decided to experience it. A lot of people come to me and they go, I was stressed out with school. I was stressed out with school when my symptoms started. That's my conflict. Great. I need to know your conflict shock. So here, I had a very stressful job for 2 years. That's my conflict. All right, I know my conflict is not working. No, you need to know your conflict shock. You didn't have symptoms at this job for the whole first year you were there. Why did your symptoms start in the second year? Did something happen at the holiday party? Did, a project fall apart? Did your boss yell at you in a meeting and make you look stupid in the middle of the meeting? Did they take away your desk and demote you? Did you lose your position? Did you lose a promotion? Like something very specific happened to start your symptoms a year into this job. So I see a lot of people make that confusion. A lot of people say, oh, what if I can't remember? What if I can't find it? If it's been within the past 5 years, it should be very easy to find. And I understand if you can't find it right off the bat because you just don't have a lot of experience thinking this way. And that's what I do in the 13-day protocol. I wish I could just tell you everything right now you would need to get better, but your brain's not ready for it. Your brain can't change that fast. I need to get rid of these limiting beliefs making you blind to what the true conflict shock is. So many people, it's like, nothing happened to me during college. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I barely know you. And you said you got beat up during college and the worst breakup of your life was in college, yet nothing stressful happened during college. This used to really annoy me when I was working with people until I learned, like, that's what a traumatized mind does. The subconscious mind blocks it from the conscious mind because otherwise the conscious mind would be completely overwhelmed and the person just becomes comatose and can't function and their brain's already dealing with enough. That's what a conflict shock is. The conscious mind can't deal with it, so the subconscious mind's going to deal with it, and the way that the subconscious mind deals with it is by putting an organ into overdrive. A lot of people don't want to move forward with the 13-day protocol because they have a vague idea what their conflict is, or they're very stressed out and there's just no solution to the stress that I'm in. So there's many things you can do. And in my 13-day protocol, I have a lot of things to help you design your life to be easier. But when you understand how your brain works and how other people's brain works, you can navigate relationships better. You can navigate people better. You can navigate yourself better, which takes away half of the stress. Half of the stress from the conflict shock just comes from you not knowing how to play the game that you're in. And that's not your fault. Our society they decided it's better for you to read The Great Gatsby instead of learning about, how your brain really works for some reason. But I've seen many people who were in a very stressful work environment and they used my 13-day protocol, got better while still being extremely stressed out at work and the conflict being connected to work. You had diarrhea? How often were you going to the bathroom?
It was somewhere between 13 to 15 times a day. I just couldn't stop. lost a bunch of weight, headaches, fatigue. My wife's a great cook, and it's delicious food, and I couldn't touch it for years. I mean, I went through this mess for like 9 years, just back and forth with different diets and medicines, and it was a nightmare. So the diarrhea actually, like with your 13-day method, and my diarrhea was gone probably halfway finishing that. I didn't even finish all 13 days, and like it was gone. I was impressed. I was like, whoa, how did this like disappear all of a sudden? Most of my food intolerances, they were gone probably within the first week or so. I'm in the opposite of a stress-free environment. Yeah, I just started a new business and everything like that, so I've got plenty of stress on my plate. But it's like you said, it's learning how to manage it, learning how to understand what the triggers actually are. Yeah, it makes all the difference.
It's about telling the subconscious mind that, hey, I can psychologically deal with this, and we don't need to biologically deal with this conflict anymore. Thanks, but no thanks. I also hear a lot of people say, like, what about kids and infants? How do they get disease? They can't be traumatized. That baby looks pretty upset to me. I'm no baby expert. That baby he probably wants some milk or something. My kid's never traumatized. If you had a boy, and you live in most Western countries, the second they come out of the womb, taking off the tip of their private parts, they never experienced trauma. And then they get put into the nursery. They're separated from the mother. If you're lucky, the mother stays at home, but still has, like, in the wild, if a baby's separated from their mother, they're dead. Dead. Freeze to death. Starve to death. Getting eaten alive. And all these memories are in the like they were passed down to us by our ancestors. I need to be with mom or I'm going to die. And then when kid goes to school, when a group of people come together, they need to sort out the pecking order. Who's the best? And so if a kid's not prepared for that, no kid is, they just, kids are mean. That's just how I know it's not right, but it's just how it is. They get into this pecking order battle that they're not ready for, and they experience a conflict shock. And then guess what? They go on a sports team. There's another pecking order battle. They experience another conflict shock. Then you guys move and you go to a new school, or every year you switch classrooms, and now there's a new pecking order battle that needs to be had. Will a psychologist help you? Yes, no, maybe, probably not. Most psychologists can't give you a straight definition for what an emotion is. Most of them are just going to put you on pills, which are going to make you numb to the conflict and make it very hard to find the conflict. They just don't know how, even if you were to tell them, hey, I have an autoimmune condition, I think it was caused by a breakup I had in high school, they don't know how to take this German new medicine approach. They don't know how to help you find PTSD triggers. They don't know how to help you find the conflict shock. And if the conflict is still active, most of them don't know how to give you practical advice on how to solve the problem in your life. They just don't. They're just not trained to do that. Most of them are trained to do investigations and give you pills. And even if you have the best psychologist in the world who can for sure help you with your emotional issues, you might have 10 emotional issues in your life, but only one of them is putting your gut in and out of overdrive. And half of the time, something that is not making you emotional is giving you symptoms. The PTSD triggers are not making you emotional and giving you symptoms. But at the time of the conflict shock, you did have a lot of emotions. But 10 years later, having it being buried deep into the subconscious, the best psychologists in the world just don't know to look for that type of thing. We all know these guys aren't going to help. They're just trained to help you manage the symptoms poorly and completely ignore the root cause. Sometimes we do need their assistance with running tests and doing certain procedures. The incompetence of the modern medical community are just on another level. These people see thousands of patients throughout their career. And, they put them on these drugs that sometimes they can help with symptoms, but they really don't. Like literally all of the drugs for UC and Crohn's, they're literally all the same thing. They're just different flavors of stimulants. And like they take them and it's like, oh, this is a different medication. It's literally just a different flavor of a stimulant. one you inject into your leg, one you take with a pill, one you put into their vein. They're literally all the same thing, and you're stupid enough to believe that they do something different. It's like literally stupid. It's stupid. And yet these are the experts. And then when you look at the science behind it, up to 50% of patients have no response. 80% fail to achieve remission. How do you spend $1 billion in research every single year? There's companies spending millions of dollars of research on these topics, and they literally have nothing to show for it. And 100 years ago, they knew it was caused by trauma and stress. It's a scam. It's a hustle. And, most doctors, they have to follow this broken system. Otherwise, they're out of a job. Their license is to practice allopathic medicine. And there are certain things that allopathic medicine is great for, especially if used intelligently with the understanding of the biological laws that we're going through. But most doctors are just trained blindly to, symptoms, I give this drug. Or I do this surgery. That's like literally what they are programmed. They are worker bees programmed to do that job. So how much has your autoimmune condition cost you in just modern meds over the past 2 years? Going to the doctor, $10, $20 in gas, depending on what car you drive and how far you have to drive. Maybe $200, maybe $500 over those 2 years in just travel expenses. Doctor appointment copays. I had really good insurance that was overpriced. It was $50 every time I showed up to the doctor for him to tell me absolutely nothing. So that's about $1,250. Medications. I was on 4 different medications that were $50 a bottle. That's over $5,000 over the course of 2 years. Lost income. I had to take time off. I was so sick I couldn't advance in my career. So who knows how much that was costing me, but let's just say it was $3,000. And then all the tests and procedures that I had to do, like even with copay, they cover 90%, sometimes 80% of these procedures, and they would just be so insanely expensive. You're still paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for something like a colonoscopy or an MRI or just some blood tests. Like the expenses really add up. So over the course of 2 years, it's easily a $10,000 expense just on modern medicine. The average cost, and this is I pulled this number probably from 2017. So these numbers are not accounting for inflation at all. But in America, the average person with somebody with Crohn disease, they're spending $20,000 per year, but somebody in Europe is going to be paying somewhere around €5,000 a year. Every surgery and ER visit, especially in America, is extremely expensive. One of my next door neighbors is a nurse, and he went to the ER for a panic attack. He is a nurse. He went to the hospital where he practices there. They didn't find anything. He didn't stay overnight. They just ran a bunch of tests, and he literally owed like $5,000. Even if you do get your colon removed, some people do have to do that, but most people don't have to do that if they would have addressed the root cause when they first started having symptoms. But these bags you have to buy, they cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars, especially over the years, especially when you consider that you have to do this for the rest of your life and all the emotional therapy you'll have to go through having something like that. They don't have good results. This study right here is saying we consider it a success if you only have 6 bowel movements a day on average. That's not success. That's garbage. That's crap results. These are just more bills. What are you paying for? They're literally giving you 0 results. What are you paying for? And it's not much better in the holistic scene. This is another holistic whack job. And I read this. I started the program over 2 years ago. This program's around $3,000. And you also have to buy $500 a month of supplements. I was finally healthy enough to celebrate and go on some vacation. I wasn't able to eat the tasty foods in Europe. Couldn't have croissants, couldn't have pizza, and had to cook yourself while traveling. How is that even possible? But I was able to have a few salutary meals. 2 years. I can achieve that result for sure within the 13 days, but most people see much better results than that just in the first few days of my 13-day protocol because they're actually addressing the root cause of the problem. These guys are not addressing the root cause of the problem. They're actually making the root cause of the problem worse because they're making you afraid of the very thing that's keeping you alive, which is food. It sucks not being able to go out with friends and family and socialize. We're social creatures. It's what brings us joy. I was afraid I was going to have to be on these boring diets forever. I remember like one date I went on and I like brought my own food in like a Tupperware, and I want to puke just talking about it. You know, I like asked the waiter to like heat it. The girl, I don't know, she had to go to the bathroom and I never saw her again. Guys, I literally tried everything. I tried all the herbs. I tried all the tinctures. You know, I danced under the full harvest moon. Nothing was working. And it got to the point where I was not being able to perform at work. My boss was getting on my case like, hey, dude, like how... I didn't blame him. Like, I literally wasn't pulling my weight. I was costing them more money than I was making them because I literally couldn't work. I couldn't sit at a desk and hit buttons on my computer because my symptoms were so bad. And every time, you know, I needed like a release and I wanted to go and hang out with my friends and family, I would just be punished for it. Anytime I had a bite of anything tasty, I was sent into like a horrible flare, had to call work off for a day or two. And then I remember one year, I was a good boy all year. I did not eat anything bad. I put on like an extra 5 pounds. Literally took me all year and working out and all that stuff. Everything was organic, straight from the farm. Everything was home cooked. Put on 5 pounds. And I finally saved up enough vacation time to go see my family for Christmas. Originally, I would be spending my vacation time to go to the doctor and all that stuff. And so I got there, and my mom had all this home-cooked meal. There was desserts and all this stuff, this bad illegal stuff that I couldn't eat. And I just thought to myself, you know, I've been good all year. I've probably, you know, built up enough strength where my gut can handle this stuff. And I ate all this delicious food, and I enjoyed it for about an hour. It was so delicious. And then after that, just horrible, horrible, horrible symptoms. I thought I was going to die. My symptoms were so bad. Meanwhile, I had eaten this food most of my life and I was fine. And everybody else was eating this food and they literally invested $0 and 0 hours into their health and they were absolutely fine. I knew I couldn't follow this holistic nutbaggery anymore. And I took a look around and I was like, who am I listening to? I'm listening to doctors who have no idea what they're doing, who just got off their smoke break. I had an overweight nurse who couldn't find my large veins. I'm like literally taking advice from sick, incompetent people. No wonder I'm not getting better. I know these systems are popular, but they don't work. They don't work. You are guaranteed pain for the rest of your life if you keep following these broken systems. And you're a human. You're a social creature. You are peer pressured into doing what's popular. It's just part of our primal programming. It's safety in masses, but in this case, it's slaughter in the masses. How much is your autoimmune disease costing you? I was making about $100K a year with my web development job. My friends were making double that because they could invest their money back into their career. I was spending at least $1,000 a month in research materials. I was buying books, buying articles, just doing all sorts of remedies, all sorts of supplements. I was desperate to do anything. A few times a year, I would go to a health seminar. Super expensive, $500 a ticket, $500 for a hotel room. They got all the booths there. You got to spend $500 on all that stuff. The ticket for the seminar itself is $500. You know, you got to take time off of work. Then there's just miscellaneous travel expenses, taxis to and from the airport. All the stuff adds up. Still had tons of symptoms, even though I was spending well over $20,000, $35,000 a year trying to get my gut issues under control. If you're watching this right now, you're still having symptoms. You're in quicksand right now, and quicksand is actually very easy to get out of if you know what to do. But if you do the wrong things, and 95% of the people on the internet are telling you to do the wrong things, you can end up in a very bad situation where it creates irreversible damage. And this is where my 13-day protocol comes in, where I show you this is the tool. You have tools. You could have me yell at you like I'm doing now, like in person over a call, which will cost a lot of money And I physically can't do it. I can't work one-on-one with everybody. I just don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. I have like 10 people I can literally only do 1 to 2 one-on-one coaching calls a day. And I'm usually in a bad mood after that because I just don't enjoy doing it. So what I have made is this 13-day protocol, which is much better than working with me one-on-one. Because even if I were to live with you and be over your shoulder and help you find these things, and yeah, that might be helpful, but I can't see what's going on inside your head. I can't feel your symptoms. I can't hear what's going on inside your brain. So what's more important is that you're educated on the basics of German New Medicine and the basics of how your brain works so that you can do this for yourself. When you do the holistic stuff, you're playing Russian roulette with each meal. Meals are a big feast. It's a celebration of survival. You know, we've conquered nature. We can live to see another day. But for you, this triumph of survival is the exact opposite. It's like, I don't know if I can eat this or not. This is so, I don't know what it is. I really want to eat that. Imagine going to France and you can't eat the cheeses. Imagine going to Italy and you can't have the gelato. Why can all your friends and family eat this stuff and they have no symptoms? Why did you eat this your whole life and you didn't have symptoms? Within the first 3 or 4 days, people are eating these foods again with 0 symptoms. So here are the 3 keys to success. 1 is knowing the basics. If you want to learn English, you should probably know the alphabet. If you want to learn Russian, you should probably learn their alphabet and, what sounds those letters make. If you want to get your health under control, you should learn the basics of German New Medicine, the biological laws of not just humans, but all animals on Earth. You need mentorship and community. I give you mentorship through the videos in my course, and this education allows you to exist in the German New Medicine community. But Michael Jordan couldn't have been great without his teammates pushing him and his coach guiding him. We are social animals, and we just need community in order to be able to do our job. But we also need a step-by-step plan, and we need help following that step-by-step plan. If you send me with a plan to the gym, that's me right there pretty much. But in the program, every day, step-by-step, super easy instructions. I'm trying to help you get better as fast as possible with the least amount of effort. I'm doing the exercises in the program with you I'm answering the embarrassing questions about my social life and all my breakups in the past and all my daddy and mommy issues and stuff that put my gut into overdrive. I'm doing these steps step by step with you, just like a personal trainer would. I know exactly what to do and exactly what not to do to heal your gut as fast as possible. So right now you have 2 options. You can do this the easy way and enroll in my 13-day protocol, or you can do it the hard way and try to figure it out yourself by enrolling in other German New Medicine courses and reading various psychology books. So if you do it the easy way, you're just going to invest a little bit amount of money and you're going to gain over $30,000 in value, because you're going to, even with all the information I gave you today and with the huge head start, it's going to be another $30,000 in expenses and a lot of time until you figure it out. But if you just enroll in the 13-day protocol, 13 days, month, 2 months, top, maybe 3 tops, it depends on, what condition you have and how long it's been going on. But easily within the first time I've designed the 13-day protocol to be repeatable, because your brain might not be ready to hear certain bits of information. Right now I'm re-listening to a book about territorial behavior. The first time I listened to it, I was like, wow, this is great. And now the second time that I'm listening to it, it's almost like a whole new book, because my brain can actually accept the information now. And that's something I've taken into account in my 13-day protocol. Not to be too full of myself, but you can't do what I have done. I have been obsessing about German New Medicine and how to do this for over 4 years. My girlfriend's into this stuff, so we talk about that all day long. This is our full-time job. We don't have another job to do besides my World of Warcraft addiction. I obsess about this all day long. I buy books in foreign languages. I take pictures of all the pages and then run them through a Textify thing, and then run it through Google Translate, and I eat and breathe this stuff. It is my life mission to make healing your gut as fast as possible with the least amount of effort. That's why I named myself Mike the Heal Your Gut Guy. Most gut healing people, they're like, I'm Tommy G, web channel, Tommy G. I'm Mike the Heal Your Gut Guy. It is my identity to help the human race heal their gut as fast as possible with the least amount of effort. My name of my company, of my channel, or my avatar is geared towards that purpose. Everybody else is just, I don't know, they just want to look cool for like, oh, I'm good at nutrition. I can't count. I have to go to school to learn how to count how much calories and how much vitamin this and that is in it. Like, why do you need to go to school for nutrition? You can't just count what, you can't read Weston A. Price's book. Like, why do you need to go to school for this? You guys are overcomplicating such simple stuff. So these are push button results. Travel Europe, carefree, with your girlfriend, eat whatever you want, no stress, no worry, just have fun like everybody else. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I was actually able to eat a well-rounded Thanksgiving dinner for the first time in 10 years. I had to take a moment to sit back after the meal and truly soak in what this means to me. I'm so grateful that I can live an easy life again. All you have to do is follow this 13-day protocol. It's all you have to do. It's the most complete arsenal of training and tools ever assembled for healing your gut. There is no better gut healing product on the market right now. There might be one other better German new medicine course out there, maybe one or two. One of them's probably not in English. And before they get to the gut health part, which will only be 20 minutes, it's going to be about a bunch of stuff you don't need to know from a practitioner's point of view and not from a patient's point of view. It's literally a step-by-step checklist for fixing your gut. And the great thing about this is not just for your gut. It shows you how to find and resolve the conflict and the PTSD triggers. So once you understand the basic principles, you can really apply it to any health condition that you're having. So in section 1 of the 13-day protocol, we're going to learn about the basics of German new medicine. This on the right, well, that's Dr. Hammer, and on the right here is Carolina Markelin. She was very kind enough to teach me the basics of German new medicine, and she has the website learninggnm.com. My favorite part of my protocol is teaching you how the mind operates. I've talked quite a bit about the mind, but I also haven't even begun to describe how your mind and how your psyche works. It just takes such a burden off your shoulders when you understand how the brain operates and how the humans in your environment, which can either make your life great or miserable, and how their brain operates so that you can get the most out of your relationships. Because what's causing the majority of the conflict in your life is your relationships with friends and families and coworkers. And if you don't know how their brain operates, you're literally walking through a minefield, and it's just a matter of time before you run into a mine. But if you have a map of this minefield and you have a map of how their brain works and what motivates them and what they do when they don't like, it's very biological and very simple. Or at least you won't be blindsided when somebody does something to you unexpectedly and, harmful. So in section 2, I teach you the basics of nutrition. Very simple, very easy. And I'm also spending a lot of time deprogramming basic food phobias like gluten and lactose and dairy intolerance, stuff like that. Dr. Weston A. Price was a doctor in the 1930s. He was a dentist, and he wanted to know why in National Geographic all the primitive populations had beautiful straight teeth. He thought it was caused by their good diet. It had a ton of nutrients in it, and that was part of it. But when these tribes were exposed to modern culture, it was just an extremely stressful event, and they were eating crap foods. But Weston A. Price shows us the healthiest diet that you can eat. Section 3 is I show you how to make a timeline, find your conflict shocks, find your conflict resolutions, find your PTSD triggers. It's literally impossible to get better if you don't know how to do this, and it is a skill, and there are certain things you need to know in order to be able to do this, and I teach you this in my 13-day protocol. And then very rarely do you need to learn how to release the PTSD triggers, release how to resolve the conflict. Most 75% of you just finding the conflict just stops the symptoms. But I also have a good section on like stress management, how to make your life less stressful, and some basic conflict resolution things to keep in mind. So how much does it cost to go to school nowadays? According to the College Board, which funny enough, I used to work for the College Board and help out with their websites, but a private college is going to cost you around $10,000 a year if you're a state resident. If you go out of state, it's going to be $25,000 a year. And these are old numbers I probably got from 2017, so you could probably just double these numbers nowadays. Even in a community college, you're probably going to be spending somewhere between I had to take like a Learn Spanish course, and that was like $5,000 a year. We already talked about this, but it's going to cost, if you live in America, it's going to cost somewhere around $20,000 a year to manage your Crohn's symptoms. And if you live in Europe, it's probably going to cost somewhere around $5,000 a year. Think about how much money that cost you over the course of a decade, over 10 years. Just general expenses, $5,000 a year times 10, that's $50,000. If you have a major gut disease or a major autoimmune condition, chances are you're going to go to the hospital at least twice during that time. And even if you have 90% copay, you're still going to be paying like $8,000 just for those hospital visits. That's like $58,000, $60,000 a decade you're spending on managing your symptoms poorly. What fun things would you do with that money? Would you buy yourself a new computer? Would you buy yourself new clothes? Like, that's a lot of money you're literally flushing down the toilet. The holistic, that's like, this is modern medicine number, but it's actually probably worse in the holistic medicine. They're going to have you spending a small fortune on supplements. And when you go and you look back and you do your expenses for the year, it's like, oh man, I spent $5,000 on digestive enzymes this year and random probiotics. And guess what? I still can't go on vacation and enjoy my life. So if you're to do this 13-day protocol with me, it would be $5,000 or 3 payments of $2,000. And this comes with the educational videos, the quizzes, the 13-day protocol workbook that you print out and you fill out, do these exercises day by day. So before I said this would be $1,000 to do this without support from me, but I would give you a special deal and bonuses if you stayed to the end of this presentation. So the price of the 13-day protocol today, if you buy today, is $497 in USD, or 3 payments of $197. And I'm also going to throw in a ton of bonuses. So the first bonus is a bunch of live Q&A recordings where you can, this is like over 100 hours of me and my girlfriend taking somebody through the German new medicine process. The bonus 2, I have a big long video on how to apply the 13-day protocol to all sorts of other diseases. Like I show you how to use the German New Medicine scientific chart and learninggnm.com, and I show you how to apply this to any disease. Think about how much money a disease costs you. It's like easily over $5,000. Like, this is a huge value. You're also going to get a bonus called Attraction 101 course, which shows you, if you're a man, like how to attract a woman, if you're a woman, how to like attract and keep a man. I made this because at least like half of the digestive issues that I see is caused by not being able to get the boyfriend or girlfriend you want, or having some sort of relationship issues. So better understanding the battle of the sexes will help you with your conflict resolution. I've seen people spend thousands and thousands of dollars on like self-help books on a divorce, things like that. I've seen people waste way more than $5,000 getting abused by the opposite sex. I also have my unpublished ebook. It's not available anywhere else. You will only get it if you purchase the 13-day protocol with this bonus. It's a great book with a ton of information. I just haven't finished it. I don't know when I will finish it, but you guys will get this for free. I also am going to give you guys my Nutrition 101 course, which is only available through this bonus, but it's way better than going to a college or a university and getting a nutrition certificate there. It's much better than anything the colleges are offering. So here's a breakdown of all the value you're getting here. This is if you go on my homepage of my website, this is $1,000 with no bonuses. You're getting over 100 hours of G&M sessions for free. There's a video where I show you how to treat any health condition with my 13-day protocol. There's also Attraction 101. That's over a $5,000 value if you apply those principles. Save you way more than that. But we can put this at overall easily a $10,000 value for just $497. There's not many investments in life you can make where you get easily a 10x money back on your investment. It doesn't happen very often in life, and you're looking at one right now. So over a 10-year period, just by investing $497, you're going to be healthy enough to go back to work and excel in your career. You're not going to have over $10,000 of medical expenses. I've seen lots of people spend thousands of dollars on a vacation and then they get sick like on the first or second day of their vacation. I was spending all sorts of money trying to look good and doing all these supplements to try to gain weight. None of it was working until I got the root cause under control. So, in order to look good, like, you have to be healthy, and you can't be healthy if you have your organs going in and out of overdrive. You're also going to save tons of money on food. I spent so much money just trying all sorts of random diets. I worked with one mother, took this 13-day protocol. She was so sick, she couldn't take care of her own kid. Luckily enough, her husband did well enough where they could hire a nanny to help her take care of the kid. But that could be a huge savings right there. And I've also seen people work with mental health professionals you could pay $1,000 a year to work with a mental health professional, every other week, and not have much to show for it. This is easily the best investment of your life. Just $497. So not only is this like a good investment long term, also in the short term, in 1 year, you're probably spending $20,000 in expenses that just literally disappear when you know the right information, which I share with you. Not only do I share it with you, I burn it into your subconscious mind so you won't forget it. Most courses aren't aware of that, and it just goes in and out the other ear. I am burning this information into your subconscious mind so it stays with you forever. Most people see this $500 return on investment almost instantly because they're considering doing some other therapy that's not going to address the root cause of the problem and is going to cost thousands of dollars right off the bat. There isn't a better investment that you can make. Your most important asset is your health. If you want to go on vacation again and enjoy pizza, you can't do any other holistic protocols because your coach is going to yell at you and make you feel guilty for eating pizza while you're in frickin' Italy. Wouldn't it be nice to have extra money left over to upgrade your computer and upgrade your phone or your TV or whatever it is that you like to do, or a gaming computer? You will have so much money left over to furnish your house nicer, buy nicer clothes. But right now, all of your money is going towards your gut health. You are in quicksand. It is easy. It is super easy to get out of if you know the right steps to make. But if you make the wrong steps and everybody is telling you to do the wrong thing, it is a matter of time before there's irreversible damage and you're going to have less money because you got to spend more money. When it gets to this point, you got to spend more money just to stay alive. But you could be spending money on things that actually bring you joy instead of things that just don't work. This guy had 14 years of flare-ups, almost died twice in the hospital. They were so bad. Now he drinks all the time. He celebrates his birthday, and he doesn't have any symptoms. It's like it never happened. And the doctors told him it was irreversible. This has literally been my obsession for the past decade. You can get all this right now for $497 or 3 payments of $197 in American dollars. You get the educational videos and the workbook. This is a limited time offer. If you purchase today, you will get the bonuses, the 100 hours of G&M sessions, so you can see exactly what I do one-on-one with people, and also what my girlfriend, half of the recordings are what my girlfriend does to help people get better. Bonus video on how to treat any condition, insane value, attraction one-on-one, so you can understand what, how to please the opposite sex so they're not always up your butt and causing problems. I give you my unpublished book and also my Nutrition 101 course. This is easily over a $10,000 value for just $497. You will never see this offer again. This is your last chance to enroll. The only way for you to lose right now is not to join. Like, let's look at this. Like, where have you seen results like you have seen? All the other results in the holistic stuff are like, suffer on boring diets and spend thousands of dollars on supplements, and then you still can't enjoy, croissants in France. Lame. These are the best tools. No one gives you tools. They don't guide you. They don't hold your hand through it. They just yell a bunch of random facts at you that just go in and out the other year that aren't even facts, to be honest. They're made up theories that have not been proven and have been proven to be false and have proven to not produce results. The most cost-effective thing, some of you are going, $500 is a lot. Guys, right now, yesterday I went out and it was just me and my girlfriend. We got a semi-nice dinner. It was $100 just to get dinner. We took a taxi down there. That was $25. We took a taxi back. That was $25. We're already at $150. We went past a candle shop. Somehow we spent $100 there. So we're at like $250. Then we went to a clothing store and I think we spent $300. So we will like in just one day. And then we also ate breakfast. We ate dinner. We went to the grocery store. Easily spent $1,000 in one day. This shirt, like I wanted to wear a nice shirt for this video. This shirt is more than the program. And this is like low-end luxury shirt right here. I'm wearing more money than this program costs right now. This microphone cost more money than this program. But $500 is almost nothing today. I fixed my car the other day and it was $800 and it wasn't even like a big thing. Your health and understanding how the human mind works is the most important information that you need to know because it affects every single aspect of your life. If you don't have your health, you can't do anything. You literally can't do anything. You can't even watch Netflix and enjoy it. Like imagine what a pain-free life would look like. You could watch Netflix and eat popcorn and actually enjoy the movie. You could travel with your friends and family, go hang out with your friends and family. This was somebody who was having 20 pills a day. They went on all the different medications and they tried all the diets and they did not get better until they started dealing with the trauma that was putting their gut in and out of overdrive. This person was going 15 times a day, diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. Now they don't have any symptoms, and it's because they did the 13-day protocol. This person was doing the steroid creams and all that stuff. It did not get better until they did my 13-day protocol, and they learned how to properly process that subconscious trauma and find that subconscious trauma that kept putting their gut in and out of overdrive. This person suffered from IBS for years. Now they can eat whatever they want. It really works. This person was suffering from tons of gut pain. They said it was gone the next day. I kind of find that hard. It usually takes a little bit longer than that, but I've seen multiple people say the gut pain stopped in a week. It works fast, stops in 2 weeks. This is somebody who barely speaks English. I did a testimonial with him and I couldn't post it because his English wasn't so great, but my videos also have subtitles translated into other languages. So if English isn't your first language, I will have subtitles for your language so you can better do this stuff. But this guy was young, still in high school, and he was able to get better. from 2 incurable diseases, Crohn's and arthritis. This person was literally about to go into surgery and instead went into my 13-day protocol and got better. This person's constipation and bloating and gas is gone. This person's SIBO is gone. Guys, I have so many testimonials. No more blood and mucus in the stool. They all did my 13-day protocol. This is exactly what I would do if I had to get better. Right here. All the people, they went through my 13-day protocol to get better. It's going to help you make more money. Infections. Remember, this is hard for some of you to digest, but these bad bacteria and fungi come out of your own cells to aid with the cell removal. These infections are controlled from your brain. Remember, I bought Candida and tested the best antifungals in the world on it, and it still would come back for most people. And then literally just doing my 13-day protocol, it went away. Their symptoms stopped in like a week because they actually addressed the root cause of the problem. This person fixed their anemia. This person has nice skin again. You're probably thinking like, I'll just $500. It's too much. It's literally not. It's literally nothing. If I'm not careful, I'll easily spend $500 a day. But I know a lot of you have money sitting in your bank account doing nothing. You're literally losing money, especially with what is happening with inflation today. In order for money to be valuable, you need to spend it on assets or education that will bring value into your life. If you have $500 sitting in the bank, it is rotting away, doing absolutely nothing for you, making you poorer, when you could be spending it on information that will literally change your life forever and get rid of the biggest problem in your life in days, if not weeks. This is what you're getting in this limited time offer with bonuses. You're getting the educational workbook with the videos. You're like, the second you purchase, you're going to get an email with login information. You can print this out and start watching videos right away. Bonus number 1 is over 100 hours of G&M sessions, so you can see firsthand what we do. Bonus 2 is videos on how to treat any condition, how to apply these principles to any condition. We also have the Attraction 101 course. We also have my unpublished book. We have my Nutrition 101 course. I don't know how to put a value on these things because when these principles are applied correctly, they can literally save you thousands of dollars over the course of your life and make you thousands of dollars over the course of your life. This is going to save you over $25,000 a year in needless expenses, and it's easily going to put over add $5,000 of value in your life every single year. You're getting well over $50,000, the average person, $50,000 in value for just $497. You will never ever have this type of an investment opportunity to spend this amount of money and get this much benefit. There's not many products that have this much value potential wrapped up into them. It's instant access. All my it's either processed through Stripe or PayPal. It's super secure. You hit the button, you put in your payment information right here. You hit this button and literally within seconds, you're getting an email and you're logging in and you're watching. You can start, instead of binge watching something useless on Netflix, you could be binge watching information that will literally make your life better forever. This is what the login page looks like. And then boom, to see my beautiful face. It even works on mobile devices. So this is a limited time sale. You won't see this offer again. It will disappear in a day, but it is $497 in US dollars. Or you can do 3 monthly payments of $197, and the normal price is $1,000 after this offer expires.
Yeah, before I brought Michael Hill Guy's guide, my stomach was disgusting. I was having clawing feeling, pain, inflammation, Crohn's level inflammation really high, diarrhea every day, and within 3 months I'm completely 100% better. Yeah, I put on 15 pounds, feeling amazing.
Was diagnosed with Crohn's and diverticulitis, 30 days in and out of hospitals, racked up some incredible medical bills in that time period. I was bleeding, diarrhea, vomiting for months, this close from surgery. They wanted to put me on Remicade shots. My GI doctor, after my colonoscopy, said that I had one of the worst colons he's ever seen. I lost a ridiculous amount of weight, standing at 6'1", being about 110, 115 pounds. I was losing my hair. And so to be here today, at a healthy weight and with no symptoms whatsoever, it's a huge blessing. And
used to have IBS. I would be going to the bathroom 7 to 10 times a day, liquid stool. And now I eat whatever I want with no symptoms. And each day, 2 to 3 times a day, I go to the restroom with regular stool.
Proctitis, it went to ulcerative colitis and pain the whole colon. I was diagnosed with histamine intolerance, so I couldn't eat anything. I'm just poop blood every single day. I had it was so bad. I weighed like 35 kilograms, but I'm pretty happy right now where I am. I just want to thank you, like I said.
8 times a day, I'd have to go to the bathroom. It was either pure blood or pink mucus every time. I was afraid to leave the house. And anytime I left the house, I was thinking of like, where's the nearest bathroom? I can't do anything for more than an hour. And anytime I rode my motorcycle, my stomach was bothering me. And I was like, man, I can't even enjoy riding. It was awful. It was so terrible.
And that's going to antagonize the conflict because now you can't work and talk to girls because of your symptoms.
That's another thing too, right? I can't go on dates. I can't date this quality woman that I want in my life, because how can you date someone when you have to go to the bathroom 3 times a day? I was afraid to leave the house because I had to know where the nearest bathroom was. Now that doesn't even cross my mind. It's all because of your program. So always forever grateful to you, Mike.
Here's another student, Sophia, who had horrible eczema on her hands. You know, she initially got involved with German New Medicine and saw a little bit of success, but she didn't understand how trauma worked in the brain. And so she had a very, even though she knew the material very well, she had a very hard time controlling her rash outbreaks. When she started going through the 13-day protocol, her eczema cleared up for good.
Yeah, so I had dermatitis on my hand for about 7 years in total.
Wow.
I tried everything to heal it because I always kind of felt, I didn't want to admit it, but there's something going on mentally that has to be triggering this. It went away after our first session, like literally that week.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Probably a year of no symptoms on the carnivore diet.
Yeah, and you had a very stress-free life at that time too.
And then I returned back to my old life of full-time corporate work. And I think within a month, all my symptoms had come back. And I was running to the bathroom upwards of 6 times, sometimes 8 times a day.
And that was even when you were doing carnivore.
Yeah, I was eating the same thing, which really puzzled me. It's been really cool to just be able to eat most things that I haven't eaten in a long time.
He's got milk right there.
I was just thinking earlier this morning that I've had more burgers in the last 2 weeks than I've had in the last probably 10 years. And then the other thing that I've really gotten back into, which never thought would happen, was milkshakes, like actual full dairy milkshake. It's a real gift to be able to walk out the house and know that I could eat anything anywhere